everybody, my name's Dan McCalla. Welcome to the 4 Hours of Daytona, the first race of the 2023 Simply Race Endurance Series. You join us just for the last 3 minutes of what has been an enthralling 30-minute qualifying session here of the race, which is going to get underway in about half an hour's time. We've got 9 cars in the field, the Van Moor hypercars. It's been a great battle in qualifying. Seen the 666 Boo Barracuda car being driven in qualifying by Martin Buchan, and the number 98 Team Purple Helmet car being driven by Jack Ashton in qualifying. Ashton has been the man to beat in testing, but he's not top of the times here. It's Boo Barracuda fastest, 132.132, just 0.15 of a second ahead of Team Purple Helm, which is car number 98. Third place at the moment being the Napa Racing UK car of car number 51, being driven by the Simply Race Alpine Cup champion Adam Christopher, who's gradually worked his way up the time. That is the only car which is a 3-man team for this race. Everybody else is a 2-man team. And then it's only Cam Sport number 900 with Ben Brown driving in 4th place, and the number 7 Avanti Racing of Max Wishling in 5th. With just over 2 minutes of the session to go, I don't know if we're going to see any more improvements. Boo Barracuda in the pit, Martin Buchan, I think his session is done. But Jack Ashton has gone back out, and we are going on board with him now. He's just coming to start. Well, technically looking at the time, he would have time for 2 more flying laps. He's just crossing the line now with 1:41 left. Very difficult breaking into turn 1. A very long pit exit there on the left-hand side. Goes through the right and left, which collectively count as turn 2. And then down to the International Horseshoe, turn 3. And that steering wheel, much of the exits you can. There'll be the very fast kink of turn 4 coming up now. It's a 5th gear, and then it'll be hard on the brakes and back down to 1st for turn 5. Keeping an eye on the sector time, see if it's a long first sector here, so I haven't been able to give you any updates on how good a lap this is for Jack just yet. It comes up to turn 6. It is a purple sector, 38.7. This could be a potential pole position lap as he comes through turn 6 and back out onto that famous Daytona banking all around. Well, it turns 1 and 2 of the oval, but counts as turns 7 and 8 of the road course, and then down to turns 9, 10, 11 and 12, the bus stop, and it'll be after that that we'll get the sector 2 time. And we'll have an idea before that very short sector 3 whether this could be a pole position lap right at the end of the session. Left, right, left, back onto the banking now, all the way around. Turns 3 and 4 of the oval. It's another purple sector. This could well be pole position right at the end of the session. Jack Ashton in the number 98 car. Back round the banking now. It's even a nice tight line. Won't come outside too much, I don't think. As he comes up to the finish line now, he'll have 1 more lap if he needs it. I don't think he will. Is it going to be pole position for Jack Ashton? Yes, it will. What a lap by nearly a quarter of a second. 1 minute 31.894. The only driver so far today into the 1:31s. And Jack Ashton once again setting himself out as the man to beat in the 4 Hours of Daytona. The checkered flag is out. We're going to go to the Boo Barracuda car, which has gone back out for 1 more lap. More importantly, number 900, only Cansport, Ben Brown, has just managed to get onto the front row. 1:32.083. Boo Barracuda is in 3rd place at the moment. And suddenly, Buchan's been bumped off the front row. Work to do. Just coming up to the first sector now, and it is up. He is up just 38.3. Ashton keeps out of the way. A cracking battle this. The pole position, less than a quarter of a second between the top 3. They've got a great race, admittedly a very long one, but a great race in prospect this afternoon. But maybe it's not over. What can Buchan do? Back out into the banking. Ashton's not on another lap. His session is done. Here they come. Are we going to get another purple sector? We do. We do. It could be on for pole position here, Martin Buchan. The flag is out. It's all or nothing. Who is going to start from pole position for the 4 Hours of Daytona? Will it be Team Purple Helmet? Will it be Boo Barracuda, the 666 car? Just a few seconds away from finding out. Here he comes, past the pit entry, up the finish line. Can Buchan get pole? 31.4. What a lap! It takes an incredible effort to beat Jack Ashton by the best part of half a second. That is an absolutely stunning lap. Even from a driver of Martin Buchan's ability, that is absolutely superb. So it's going to be Boo Barracuda and Team Purple Helmet on the front row. Only Cansport and Napa Racing UK on row 2, then Barracuda and Avanti Racing on row 3, the two Quatermass cars, the 35 ahead of the 63 on row 4, and then only go for the gap car number 2 will bring up the rear, will start the race in 9th spot. It's a stunning lap for Martin Buchan, but in an endurance race, it's not about what you do over one lap, it's consistency over a long period of time that counts. There's confirmation of the qualifying leaderboard. The race will start in just under half an hour's time. These are difficult cars to drive and very physical ones to drive over a long distance. We've got the variables of different drivers, the variables of the tyres going into the night as well. It's going to be a very, very interesting race, and we're looking forward to having your company very, very shortly when we get the 4 Rounds Daytona and the 2023 Simply Race Endurance Series underway. We'll see you in a bit.
doing push to talk, can you make sure that your voice activation is off? Because otherwise all the drivers are going to hear you. So please make sure that your sound activation is off, because it's showing you as broadcasting.
User left your channel.
Hello again everybody, Dan McCalla here, and we are just about to go racing. 4 hours of Daytona, the opening round of the 2023 Simply Race Endurance Series. 9 cars and very high quality drivers lining up on the grid after a thrilling qualifying session. Pole position on paper changing hands twice just within the last couple of minutes of the session. It's the 666 car of Boo Barracuda on pole position. Martin Buchan set pole position, a great lap of a 1:31.4. He will start the race. He's got Stuart French joining him. Probably the pre-race favourite, given the form he showed in testing, is number 98 car of Team Purple Helmets, thanks to Jack Ashton. He is also starting the race. He's got Will Murphy joining him. He's also he's a new driver, but has been very quick in testing also. The cars begin their formation lap on row 2. The third place car is number 900. That's the only Cam Sport car of Ben Brown, with Matt Goodger-Scott joining him. And we're just going to throw now live trackside, and I'll give you the rest of the grid in a moment, the National Anthem.
And now, please stand as you are able for the performance of our National Anthem.
Great to have the National Anthem there. So just to round up the rest of the grid, 4th place of the grid, number 51 car, the very distinctive blue and yellow Napa Racing UK car. Adam Christopher starting the race. He's got Cameron Richardson and John Dean Smith joining him. That's the only car with 3 drivers in the race. On row 3, 5th on the grid, car number 95 is U Barracuda. Sean King starting the race, joined by Nathan Burton. 6th on the grid, number 7, Avanti Racing. Edson Manguera starting the race. He's got Max Wishling with him. On row 4, the 2 Quatermass cars. 35 is the faster of the 2 cars in qualifying. Aaron Daly starting the race. He's joined by Michael Tyler, 2 very experienced drivers from Simply Race Alpine and Touring Car Racing. 63, 8th on the grid, Ben Bennyworth, the Alpine Cup runner-up. He will start the race. He's got Adam Locke with him. And bring up the rear, car number 2, Onid Go for the gap. Dan Hyde starts. Aidan Carter is joining him. As they come round on the bank about halfway round this formation lap, it will be a single file rolling start. And these Van Walls, I've had to go on one myself earlier this week. They are physical cars to drive. They are difficult cars to get used to. And I think these will be a real challenge for every driver in the field over a race of this length. A lap has been just over a minute and a half. 1:31.4 was pole position time, so you should be looking 40 laps now. So we should be looking at probably between 150 and 160 laps in total for your full race distance. And I mean, there was only I think less than a second between the top 5 or 6 in qualifying, so it's going to be absolutely fascinating to see how this race develops. There's so many variables in terms of tyre wear, going into the night, the track temperature changing, obviously fatigue among the drivers, and I think there probably are. I would say anyone maybe in the top, I'd say probably the top 6 on the grid, if everything comes right for them, has got a realistic shout at the podium at least. There's the bus stop around the back of the straight. That's proving a particular challenge for a lot of the drivers because they've been turning the traction control on to deal with the infield section and then turning it off so they get greater speed on the banking. But then so that they're not tinkering with it too much, they're leaving it off when they go around the bus stop, which makes it even more difficult, particularly when trying to get the power down to come out of the bus stop, because that really makes a big difference to your top speed. You go all the way round turns 3 and 4 of the oval and back over the line. It's a long period of full throttle, so any little bit of time you lose in the bus stop is going to cost you a lot around the lap, particularly with the slipstream on these cars being very strong. So it's almost time to go. They come back round the last corner now. Buchan for Boo Barracuda, leading Ashton, the purple helmet. 10 seconds left on the clock, and then it will be green flag racing. The clock has started, hit the pit limiter off, and the 4 hours of Daytona is go. Buchan leads Ashton, Brown and Christopher, the first 4, line astern as they cross the line, and we get things underway. Ashton leaving a bit of a gap there, and Ben Brown might take advantage. Going through turn 2, they're still side by side. Alan Chris taking a watching brief, very hair race on the first lap. Ashton just about holds on to it, as you'd expect with endurance race. No one wants to take too many risks on the first lap. We go on board with Adam Christopher in the Napa car in 4th. Briefly. Who's he got just behind him? The U Barracuda car, 95, which is Sean King. But already, Martin Buchan's opened up a little bit of a margin there, hasn't he? Going to the first sector, and Buchan already 1.2 seconds to the good. With Boo Barracuda, purple helmets, Oni Cam Sport, then Napa, on board with now. Boo Barracuda, you can see with the cockpit that some of the visibility, particularly with that left, what you call an A-pillar, so into the bus stop, the driver's eye line, it's really, really difficult. Another extra complication for the drivers to deal with as we follow Adam Christopher through the right, through the left. You can see he's lost a little bit of time there as they come back onto the oval from the Only Cam Sport car of Ben Brown. All the cars are still in same order in which they started the race. No change of position on this opening lap. Martin Buchan, very useful advantage. If anything, I'd say he's probably broken the toe. They're going to come across the line with an advantage of 1.1 seconds. Then Ashton, Brown, Christopher. Sean King just behind him there. That's the Avanti car, number 7 in 6th place of Edson Manguera. With a very fast turn 4 and down towards turn number 5. I think most people running the soft tyre in this race seems to be obviously offering a lot more grip, and it seems to be holding up fairly well. And all we've got done there, we've got some tyre information for you. That's very good. Thank you very much, Dane. And as you can see, Jack Ashton and Ben Brown in 2nd and 3rd have both started on the hard tyre, and Onid go for the gap, which has had Dan Hyde start the race. They've started on the medium. So obviously that will have a big impact in terms of pit strategy and so on and everything. We are expecting probably stops every 40 to 50 minutes. I think you can get about 30 laps or so on a full tank. So depends on driver strategy. And we're on board with Adam Christopher here because he's got a big toe on the only Cam Sport car of Ben Brown. This is the battle for 3rd place. You're going right down to the apron, Adam Christopher there. No way through. Let's not take the Bubba Wallace line. Come down to turn 1. Decide not to make the move stick. Great lap there by Martin Buchan in the 32. Again, doing 32s in race trim is superb. 1:32.916 there for Martin Buchan. He's opened up a lead of 1.7 seconds now on Jack Ashton in second place. You use hashtag Sres or at SimplyRace if you want to get in touch and join the conversation this afternoon. Adam Christopher, the Alpine Cup champion, third in the Touring Car Championship as well. Beat Ben Bennyworth on countback to get that third, thanks for winning the very last race of the season at Brands Hatch a month ago. I think Jack Ashton's made a mistake though, because he's lost 8/10 in the first sector alone, and Buchan is building a good lead here. I think compared to what we've seen in testing, it looked like Jack Ashton had quite a significant advantage over everybody else on the testing leaderboard that's been developed over the last couple of weeks by the guys here at Simply Race. So this is, I want to say, a surprise, and we know Martin Buchan is a great driver, but as I said, Jack has been dominant in the testing time, so the diminutive Scotsman is very much making his mark as they come up to complete the third lap of the race. Ready with the lead of 2.5 seconds. And we'll see how the pit strategies shake out. I'm wondering if Purple Helmet and Oni Camsport, I'm wondering if they're considering, wow, it's a big stop, and that was Sean King in Barracuda. I'm wondering if we can hopefully go back and see that again. It's very, very difficult with the speeds and the big stop into turn 1. You're turning at the same time. It's not very well sighted. I'm sure we will see plenty more mistakes there as the race develops. But yeah, nearly coming to grief there very early on indeed. Going to go back. Dane Baird very ably assisting me in the commentary box as directed today. He's just hopefully going to tee up a replay of that near incident with Barracuda. And here we go, let's have a look. It looked like he just missed the braking point, and he missed it quite a long way. Levanti not quite, with Edson Manguera being able to take advantage. So no position change, but that just kind of demonstrates that it's so easy with these cars and this track to make a mistake. As they come to the line again, let's have a look at the lap time, see if Martin Buchan is extending that lead. Buchan's done a 33.8. Ashton's done exactly the same time to the 1,000th on that lap, 1:33.847. The gap's 2.5 seconds. And in turn, they've got 1.1 on Onid Camsport with Ben Brown and Napa Racing UK with Adam Christopher. Cameron Williamson and Touring Car and Alpine Cup driver John Dean Smith joining Adam in the Napa team. I think it certainly wins the prize for best livery on the grid. I mean, we've got some fantastic ones. It's great to see some variation and lots of different colours. And the last thing a commentator needs is lots of cars to look exactly the same. But that distinctive blue and yellow of Napa team really being driven by John Dean Smith's association with the Napa Racing UK team with which he's working in the real world British Touring Car Championship. But it really does stand out, and I think it suits the shape of the van wall very, very well. So nearly 8 minutes gone now, and the race is gradually settling into a rhythm. I don't think we're going to see too many laps in the 1:32s from Martin Buchan or anybody today. See, we're going on board there with Sean King in the Barracuda car. You can see the bouncing and the porpoising. It's not quite Mercedes in the F1 at the beginning of last year, but it's still not brilliant. He comes down again, braking a lot later, and that time just seemed to hook it up. Oh, Herb a little bit too early, but he has managed to close that gap a bit more last time round. So we're going on board with him. You see him come out the corner there, and you see the gearing lights and also the purple lights, which is where he'll know traction control. And I think actually it's probably worth mentioning we were on board with Sean King at the end of that last lap, and it did look like he was getting a good tow from the 2 cars ahead of him, just as Ben Brown goes very wide there, coming out of turn 5. With the Avanti cars got off at turn 5 in the background, but has rejoined, so that's allowed the 35 Quatermass car to close up, which is being driven by Aaron Daly at the moment. But I was just going to say about Barracuda and Sean King really closing up towards the end of that lap. It was the fastest third sector of the race so far, which I think demonstrates that you can get, particularly you've got 2 cars ahead of you, really big tow. It's the difference between maybe doing 195 mile an hour as you come round and past the start finish line, maybe even getting up to 205. Adam Christopher really pushing it there, having to fight him. I mean, we know the man from Southwest London's got great car control, but you don't want to be pushing that and risking too much through the bus stop, particularly because the drivers, generally speaking, as I said earlier, do not have traction control activated on that part of the circuit.
This is a warning for crossing the
Looking at
white
third,
line,
fourth, and
the
fifth,
pit
just
exit
an update on the
line.
leaders.
Wait until it
Buchan
is
and
dashed
Ashton are pretty much
before you
matching
cross it.
themselves for lap time at the moment. 33.7 for both of them last time round. The gap is 2.4 seconds. And I guess Adam Christopher here is in a little bit of a difficult situation because he doesn't want to take too much of a risk trying to get past, but also he can see the top 2 heading off the road. Christopher was a full second slower than the top 2 last time around. These guys you're looking on screen now are lapping in the mid 34s, whereas the top 2 did 33.7s last time around. So he doesn't. It's a bit of a stick or twist situation. He doesn't want to stay behind for too long. Get a good tow round here, but it's not really enough of a braking zone or a tight apex. You've got to be right alongside to be able to try and brave a move into the bus stop. I know, unfortunately, Adam does have some personal commitments, so he will be driving the bulk of the first half of the race. I know he's got to disappear afterwards. So I think he'll be. I'm certainly expecting that he will be double stinting at the very least. Also, worth remembering, of course, that Adam's on the soft tyres here, and the only CanSport cards on the hard, so really playing into CanSport's hands. Oh, now he's going to have a look. He's having a big look. Can he get it stopped in time when he starts to stick up the inside? No, he won't. I have a feeling in a shorter race, if it was a touring car race, I think someone like Adam Christopher definitely would have gone for that. And there's a spin. Edson Manguera in the Avanti's just spun at turn 1 in the background. The Quatermass cars have managed to avoid him. And there were just what we were demonstrating, that very easy to make mistakes coming into turn 1. And he's really struggling to get that round and get it going again. He has dropped to the back of Vorsi. On Go for the gap have gone through, so that will drop the number 7 Avanti car to the very back of the field, unfortunately. 12 minutes, just under 12 minutes in, and it's the first real error, or major error, that we've seen of the race so far. I certainly don't think it will be the last. Let's have a look at the replay.
Avanti crash T1, no further action. Avanti crash T1,
off the apex,
no
and he
further
tried to
action.
get back on the power a little bit too early. Maybe fiddling with the traction control settings, perhaps, trying to get them going again. And that's a real shame for the Avanti car. It's cost them. He's got going again, but it's cost him about 20 seconds, and it has dropped him from 6th to the rear of the field in 9th place. Also, there will be longer-term implications for the tyres there for the Avanti car. They're on the softs, but maybe adjust their strategy a little bit. We go back to that battle for 3rd, 4th and 5th, as it is the closest battle on the track. It's just, less than a second separating Ben Brown for Onyx CanSport, Adam Christopher for Napa Racing UK, and then there in the Barracuda number 95 car, Sean King. Sean King doing another fastest 3rd sector of the race there. again demonstrating the size of the toe that he's getting. And here comes Adam Christopher up the inside at turn 5. He knew he needed to get the turn done soon, but he's always going to go off. Oh, he's just got off. He couldn't get it turned. And it's a spin for the Napa car. He knew he needed to get past and make use of the soft tyres. We said stick or twist. Well, he twisted and he's bust. And it's dropped him all the way back to 7th place. But he had to go for it. You could see maybe the chance of the win going up the road, even at this early stage with the pace of the front two. They've rejoined in 7th place. They've lost about 10-12 seconds there, Adam Christopher. More importantly, lost three places. See the spin there again. Went for up the inside. It is one of the best places to overtake on the track. It was the right place to go for it. He couldn't quite get it stopped. Yeah, very easy to spin these cars round. A real shame there for the number 51 Napa car in 7th place and for Adam Christopher. So we've just come out to the 15-minute mark. This is probably a good time just to give you a rundown of the times and an update on where we are so far. So Martin Buchan, as you can see, leading for Boo Barracuda. He's opened up a lead of just under 3 seconds now. Excuse me, from Team Purple Helmet and Jack Ashton. Then it's 5 seconds further back to Ollie Camsport and Ben Brown, and then Barracuda and Sean King in 3rd and 4th. The Quatermass cars are now 5th and 6th, 35 ahead of 63. So that's Aaron Daly now in P5. He's putting a good consistent run so far, ahead of Ben Bennyworth in the 63 car. Then we have Napa Racing UK with Adam Christopher after that spin. On go for the gap with Dan Hyde is in 8th. Then Avanti Racing Edson Manguera after he also went off at turn 1, bringing up the rear, and now already 33 seconds off your race lead. There is your lead order. I'm not sure those number of laps is quite correct, but the order I think is. Race settling into a pattern now. I think give it another maybe 15 or 20 minutes, and then we'll get to the point where we'll start seeing some of the first pit stops. If we see any earlier than that, then it might be suggested we're going to see some people maybe even pitting out of sequence. We go back here, and this is the Quatermass car. Aaron Daly has caught Sean King Zubaraki. Now, he's lost about 5 seconds on that lap. I think Sean King has made a mistake somewhere on the previous lap, which is how now both Quatermass cars, both Daly in the 35 and Bennyworth in the 63, closed in on him. If I'm just have a look at the replay, Daly very nearly got past into the bus stop. They were side by side around the banking on the previous lap. So we're just going to have a quick look and see if we can decipher what happened there for you, because the lap time would normally be in the 34s, 35s, and Sean King did a 1 minute 40. So he's somewhere, I think, on the early sort of part of the lap, the infield section on the previous lap. He's made an error. Don't know whether it was a spin or he's gone off. It looks like he's been off at turn. Yeah, he spun at turn 5. Very similar. I hope we've got a replay for it, but I think he's had a very similar. It wasn't overtaking, but it was a very similar incident to the one that befell Adam Christopher. And right, here's a replay for you. So this is what happened to Sean King. I mean, just get round, just a half spin, and that's how he's now fallen back into the clutches of those two luminous Quatermass cars. So Sean King still in 4th place. He's got right back now. He's now more than 7 seconds, and this has taken the pressure off Ben Brown. He's probably one of the big winners of the early part of the race. He had a lot of pressure from 2 other cars. Now Sean King spun properly. Now he spun at turn 1. 2 errors in 2 laps, and I imagine that, you're always seeing racing one spin can easily lead to another because of tyre wear and everything, and he may find himself maybe having to pit. So a real shame for Sean King. He's dropped actually back to 7th place now. Both Quatermass cars have gone past. Napa Racing UK has gone past as well. And just because if you spin and you get grass on as well, you cook the tyres, that makes it more likely you can have another accident. So it may well be that the 95 Wu Barracuda car are going to have to probably going to have to change their pit strategy, get onto some fresher tyres. I was just going to say before then that it's working out well for Ben Brown because they started on the hard tyres. They had pressure from 2 cars behind him who have both made mistakes. And we've got a replay here. Now, here's the turn 1 spin for Sean King. He really has been pushing. It was some very late braking into turn 1 since the race started. And I guess with having already had one incident that's going to cook the tyres, it was probably only really a matter of time that he was going to have an incident at that part of the track. No, bit of a slower lap for Jack Ashton last time around, the 34.6. So Boo Barracuda and Martin Buck are now leading by 4 seconds. He's still circulating in the 33s. Meanwhile, I think the Napa, yes he has, the Napa Racing UK car, Adam Christopher, has passed into turn 1, the 63 car of Ben Bennyworth. I just saw it come through with a purple third sector, so we've got a big toe down the straight, and Adam Christopher's managed to get the move done into turn 1. So, on the recovery now, Adam Christopher, he's managed to get back 2 of the 3 places that he lost through spins. And Napa Racing UK now back into the top 5, but with another, we've got nearly 8 seconds up the road to get back to the 35 car in 4th. Here's the replay coming, here is the move. Great, so he's gone around the outside of him here, Adam Christopher. Against driver Ben, I mean, these two finished level on points in the Touring Car Championship. In 3rd and 4th place, Adam Christopher got the Northern Camp back. They were the top 2 in the Alpine Cup. They are very evenly matched drivers. It does show the power of the toe there that Adam Christopher was able to get, and he's moved Napa Racing UK back into 5th place. I have to say, one driver's really impressed me so far in this race is Aaron Daly in the 35 Quatermass car, because he had a really good raced in the Alpines this year, had a great result with a reverse grid win at Croft back in December. Often does get caught off. Incidents can be quite aggressive and maybe not really consistent. It's consistency that you need in an endurance race. So I have to say, I think he's done a great job so far. He's taken full advantage of where other drivers have dropped it. His lap times are holding up well. He's doing low to mid 34s now, and that's kind of what the leaders have dropped down to. And the result is that he, alongside his teammate for the day, Michael Tyler, of course, was just come off a touring car season as well, have found themselves in 4th place. So very, very good progress by Aaron, who's one of the youngest drivers on the grid. I think he's only 18. And making use of a lot of testing to build that consistency into his drive, and it's developing as a driver really, really well. It's good to see him. Good to see him up there. So we've had what? 1, 2, 3, 4 different cars. 4 different cars have had spins already. 3, I think. Obviously, Sean King's had 2, and we're only just over 20 minutes in. So this goes to show errors can happen, and anything could happen at any time. Just underlined about Aaron Daly, Adam Christopher's not catching him. They're both doing mid 34s, 134.5 for both drivers last time round. That gap's still. I was reading the wrong number. It's 1.5 seconds. Yeah, I was reading Aaron's gap is 7.5 to the car ahead of him, which is Ben Brown. So apology for that. It's 1.5 seconds, but that gap is remaining relatively static at the moment. I'll be honest, I'm a little bit surprised that Wu Barracuda actually haven't stopped. I wouldn't expect a driver change. Nathan Burton is the driver joining Sean King there. But we've already had a couple of spins. Those tyres are really not going to be in good condition. I know it's early in a stint, but we thought maybe they would have considered a rethink. Adam Christopher, just look at the timing screens. He's now starting to close on Aaron Daly. That gap's down to 1.1 seconds now, so Napa Racing UK may be about to get back into P4 within the next few laps. We'll keep an eye on the timings there. Staying on board with Sean King for now. Go back to turn 5. was going to say it's hard to see how close he got to the apex because of the A-pillar in the way on the right-hand side. They said that visibly out these cars, not the best. Van Wall in real-world hypercar form will be racing at Le Mans this summer with 1997 World Champion Jacques Villeneuve on its driver roster. I know he's not had a lot of track time before racing at Sebring this weekend. And I think I think Aaron's made a mistake. Just looking, we've got Napa. I'm looking at the time scale. I think while I've been away, I think Murray Walker style commentators curse. I think Aaron's dropped back a couple of places because both the Napa Racing UK car and the 63 car are now coming through as ahead of him on the timing. So, problem resolved. It's some overtaking. We're just looking at that's the Avanti Racing car. Edson Manguera recovering 8th place from Dan Hyde for Ollie go through the gap. So, more recovery. And yeah, Aaron has had a spin, so I apologise for Aaron. Very much commentator's curse. He's come out of turn. That's turn 6 coming onto the oval. He had Adam Christopher just behind him. Here's a replay of it now, and he's just got on the power a little bit too early. He's managed to straighten up. He's not had a full spin, but you can lose a lot of time there because that's coming onto the banking, and it allowed Ben Bennyworth to go through as well. So the 51 Napa Racing UK car of Adam Christopher up into 4th. 63 Quatermass car of Ben Bennyworth is now in 5th place. Down to 6th goes the 35 Quatermass car of Aaron Daly. At the front, Martin Buchan's pace continues to be very, very impressive. He's just done another one with 133. He's 133.9 compared to a 134.7 for Jack Ashton. The lead that Martin Buchan has now built up is 5.2 seconds. We do, of course, have to bear in mind that Purple Helmet are on the hard tyre, so I don't think Ashton will be too disappointed at this stage. We'll be nearly 26 minutes into the race. We're looking at Jack Ashton now. I'm wondering how these two cars are going to differ in terms of strategy, because with the different tyre choices they've made, there will be a significant difference. There's a very, very long pit exit here, and it's a slow pit lane speed limit as well. It's only 60 kph, so that will factor into the differences. There's confirmation of how much quicker Buchan was that time round. I think I don't think that's a reflection of either their driving abilities, even if the gap is almost 6 seconds now. It's just the fact that they are on very, very different tyres. Confirmation for you there that it is the hard tyres for the cars currently running in 2nd and 3rd. So Martin Buchan will want to be building a big lead in time for his first stop, and then or whenever he hands over his co-driver, the very accomplished Stuart French. Another 4/10 that time round for Buchan. The gap's up to 6.1 seconds now, and in turn another 7.5 on the only cancel. The car's a little bit more spread out now. I think any sort of battle we've seen is decided for now. Now the Napa car has got back into 4th. The two Quatermass cars are the closest, and they're 3 seconds apart. So very much settling into the real session. I think Sean King's had another spin. Barracuda's dropped to last. And that'll be a 3rd one, so disappointing there. Not worked out for him. So Nathan Burton, when he gets to that car eventually, will have plenty to do. So, as we get to the half-hour mark We're going to take a very short break, and I'm going to leave you in the capable hands and on board your current race leader by just over 7 seconds, Martin Buchan. We are half an hour into the 4 hours of Daytona, round 1 of the 2023 Simply Race Endurance Series, and it's being led by the car on the screen here, number 666, Boo Barracuda, being driven by Martin Buchan. He's built up a very good lead so far of just over 8 seconds. However, he is on the soft tyre, and the car in second place, the pre-race favourite, the number 98 Team Purple Helmet, being driven by Jack Ashton, is started on the hard tyre. So while he's dropping near enough a second a lap now, Ashton very much playing the long game with his strategy. Third, another 8 seconds further back, and also on the hard tyre, is the Onid Cam Sport car of number 900 being driven by Dan Brown. And then we've had lots of changes and chops and changes behind them, because we've had at least 3 or 4 cars have had some spins. Fourth place at the moment is the Napa Racing car number 51 being driven by Adam Christopher. Quatermass cars are 5th and 6th. Ben Bennyworth has quietly made his way up to 5th from 8th on the grid in car number 63, ahead of his teammate number 35, Aaron Daly, in Quatermass car in 6th. Then it's the Avanti car number 7 of Edson Manguera. The number 2 Only Go for the Gap car, currently being driven by Dan Hyde. And then Barracuda's Sean King has had 3 spins, unfortunately, and really thinks struggling with the tyres now. And having run as high as 4th in the early stages, he has now dropped to the rear of the field. So with 31.5 minutes gone, I think we're slowly getting towards the point now where we might start seeing a few pit stops. We're not seeing any pit stops from anybody yet, so all the starting drivers are still in the cars. Not sure we're going to see any driver changes specifically when we see the first round of stops, particularly because all the teams bar one are only running 2 drivers in this race. It's the Napa Racing UK car that have got 3 drivers. And it's at this point, I was going to say, particularly the drivers on the soft tyres will maybe starting to be feeling it a bit more and finding the car sort of isn't really gripping as much as it was earlier on. But it has to be said that Martin Buchan has held his pace very well. He did his first full flying lap, lap 2 of the race, he did a 1:32.9, and he's now settled into doing high 33s, low 34s, whereas Jack Ashton on the hard tyre has been doing mid to high 34s. How much of a difference that will make in terms of the race result, because they're going to be on very different tyre strategies,
Can we try and
will
get
become
time
apparent
limits
over the next
yet?
under 3.5 hours. leader out now. Another lap in the 33s there for Martin Buchan. 1:33.9 that time round, and Ashton doing a 34.4. Ashton's times actually got better in the last few laps. He had dropped into very high 1:34s. He's now come back down to doing 34.3s, 34.4s. Nonetheless, he's still dropping half a second lap to Buchan. The gap now nearly 9 seconds. Everybody else now pretty spread out. There's the smallest gap between the two cars, about 4 or 5 seconds. That's between the two Quatermass cars. I think Dan Hyde, I think, has had a spin. He's done a 1:47 on the last lap, and that's dropped him back to the rear of the field. It's allowed Sean King to recover into 8th place. So disappointment there, and I think I'm right in saying that. Well, I think we've had, out of the 9 cars in the field, I think we've had spins now from 5 of them. The top 3 showing remarkable consistency, setting the pace. I think there could be a good battle developing for 3rd quite soon, because the soft tyre shod Adam Christopher is closing up on Ben Brown's only Cam Sport at a rate of knots. He was 4 tenths quicker last time round. He's taken another half a second out of him in the first sector of this lap. The gap's back down to less than 5 seconds, so having made a mistake earlier on trying to pass Ben Brown, Adam Christopher now making a recovery in the Napa car. In a few laps' time, may be in position to have another go. We'll hope to get there maybe before we get to the first round of pit stops. Both drivers with lots of experience of competition here at Simply Race. Both nice cracking drives in the touring car series that's just gone. Martin Buchan's just put in a 33.6. We do that on tyres that are, 35 minutes old now. Cracking time, and he's got the gap now into double figures, 10.3 seconds now. Adam Christopher took nearly a full second out of Ben Brown there. Brown's dipped into the 35 now, 1:35.2 last time round. Adam Christopher 34.3. He's taken another 3 tenths out on the first sector of this lap. That gap's down to 4 seconds now, and we will have another battle for 3rd developing very, very shortly. It seems that Adam Christopher may not have done too much damage to those soft tyres when he had that spin early on. Ben Brown, of course, for only Cam Sport on the hard tyres and very much playing the longer game. There you can just see Adam Christopher's car in the background there coming out of turn 1. There he is. Beautiful edit, that. Best bit of editing of the race so far, in my opinion. Again, another half second that time round. Last time round for Adam Christopher. Down to 4 seconds. Does seem to be in this first sector, the twistiest sector of the track, where he's making up the most time, which when you have a tyre advantage in terms of the compound you're running is what you'd expect. Only a tenth this time round, mind. Lighting the steer, we go on board with Anna Crisp. You can see those green and the blue lights. And there are 2 clusters of 3 lights on sort of either side of the gear lights there, which will go purple. And if you see those, it means the track control is being deployed. Now, it'll be interesting to stay with him through the bus stop here to see if he's using the traction control through here or not. I suspect he probably isn't. Well, he is, just a little bit. Maybe just turned it down and maybe just leaning a little bit on, but the traction control was on there going through, coming out of the bus stop. just looking at the lap times now, and I think Jack Ashton's decided it's time to push on a bit more because his lap times are actually now quicker than Martin Buchan's. He's dipped into the 33s for the first time, probably since the first 4 or 5 laps of the race, and he's actually brought the gap between the top 2 cars back down to less than 10 seconds. We will stick with Adam Christopher for now because there is a really good battle going to be brewing here for 3rd place, resumed. And it's taken him by the time he gets to it, it's taken him a good maybe half an hour to get himself back into the position where he can do this. But we will keep you very much informed of how the lap time progresses with the leaders, with Jack Ashton really starting to push on the hard tyres now. Maybe anticipating that might have to be a stop fairly soon by your race leader Martin Buchan. I think you may have noticed in the last few minutes the shining of the headlights on the track has become a bit more prominent. This race running into the evening, so we will be running pretty much full darkness by the time we get to the end of the race. And so that glow and the visibility and the changing light will have an impact on what the drivers see and some of their lines as the next few hours go on. I think, hopefully we'll get a replay for. Unfortunately, Aaron Daly has had another spin, this time coming out of turn 3, which has cost him 6th place for the recovering Avanti car of Edson Manguera. Same thing again as we've seen with so many of the drivers really in the race so far, just getting back on the power a little bit too early, coming out of the corner, and it just brings that rear of the car right round again. Very, very easily done. It's why we've seen so many of the incidents like that already, even though we're only, 43 minutes into the race. And Quatermass team think of actually, have they just pitted or they're just about to come in? Yeah, I think yeah. So just double checking. I think Aaron is actually just about to come in. Yes, they have. So I apologise. Thank you for the message from Race Control. It's actually been Michael Tyler in the car since the start. So I apologise for Aaron Dale. I gave him all that praise and then damned him after two things. We've just had a bit of updated information that they didn't submit it on the form the right way round. It's actually been Michael Tyler in that number 35 at the start of the race, and Aaron Daly hopefully will be going in shortly. So apologies for the misinformation there. But the 35 car you're looking at is actually being driven. Has actually been driven by Michael Tyler since the start of the race. So thank you, Annabelle, for the clarification and the cup of tea you've just brought me, which is very kind of you. The Quatermass team chief Max Spooner is here today. I've just actually had a message come through on my phone asking for a plug for his sponsor, but as his drivers don't seem to be capable of filling the form correctly, I'm not going to do that, and that is my prerogative. So, hard luck. Let's give you an update then. 45 minutes into the race, that Martin Buchan's Blue Barracuda car is now leading by over 13.5 seconds as it continues to make that soft tyre work against the hard tyre shod Jack Ashton in Team Purple helmet number 98. We then go back to Omni Camsport and the hard tyre of Ben Brown. He's in third place, just 2 seconds now ahead of Napa Racing and Adam Christopher in fourth. And where the team form is, there's been a bit of activity around there, so I think we might be seeing some pit stops coming up in the near future. We haven't had any stops yet, so I think we might be getting some very soon. Fifth place is the 60p Quatermass car being driven by Ben Bennyworth. Number 7, Avanti Racing at Edson Mangera is 6th. 7th is the 35 Quatermass car, which we now know has been driven by Michael Tyler. 8th, 95, Barracuda. Sean King has had a few spins. And then Dan Hyde bringing up the rear in the number 2, Go for the Gap car. In 9th place, he's a minute and 16 off the pace, so not too far away, potentially being lapped, especially if he maybe has another error. We've seen some activity down among the drivers and everything, so I think we will be seeing the first pit stops fairly imminently. It was suggested that a full tank was about 30-31 laps, which would be about 45-50 minutes. That is just over a minute and a half for a lap, so that would make sense that we may well get the first round of pit stops. What will be interesting here to see if anybody also decides to change driver. It looks like here that the Quatermass are Michael Tyler, who's just ahead of Barracuda, who goes very wide coming into turn 6. Sean King there just coming on the back of Michael Tyler. We go on board with Sean King, these two recovering in 7th and 8th places after a few incidents. He updated on the battle for 3rd as well, because there's now only 1.3 seconds between Ben Brown's Only Camp Sport and Adam Christopher for Napa Racing, so we might have a change or at least a battle for 3rd place very shortly, but we'll keep an eye on the battle for P7 for now. And we have our first pit stop, and that, I think that's the Napa car. The Napa car is in. 63 car, Quatermass car is also in. So that's the cars that were running in 4th and 5th places. They're making their first pit stops of the afternoon. They were both on the softer tyre. So we'll have a look and see the pit stop times, and we'll see where they come out, whether they change drive or not. Keep an eye on tyres as well. Barracuda have come in as well, 95. They were running in 8th place. There is Sean King coming into his pit box. A little bit sluggish and getting stopped. A little bit confused as to how Napa and Quatermass came in together, to be honest. There goes the Napa car. I would expect, having spoken to them earlier, that will still be Adam Christopher in the car. And then I think they're expecting he's going to do the bulk of the change. And the leader is in. Martin Buchan, Boo Barracuda on the soft tyres, has come in to make his first stop, which means that Team Purple Helmet 98 will, at least the time being, take over the lead. Now remember, Ali won't, because they're in as well. I imagine at least just for fuel. So the first two are in the pits for their first fuel stops. Let's remember the gap when they came in, just under 15 seconds. So to work out the net gain or net loss for the leaders, this will be interesting over the next lap or two. Onicam Sport now in as well. So this is very much getting to the 45-50 minute mark, running out of fuel. Whether they're changing tyres or not, we don't know. And we'll see who shakes out where in the next few minutes after this first round of pit stops. Avanti Racing now in as well, as we cycle through these first pit stops. I can tell you that Martin Buchan is out of the car. That's the end of his very impressive first stint, as you'd expect from the Scotsman. Stuart French is in. That's the only driver change that we're aware of so far. Once the pit stops are cycled through, hopefully we'll give you the tyre information. We'll see if anybody has changed tyres. That is Purple Helmet back on the move. Boo Barracuda still in the pits. That'll be the longer stop. So obviously that means, as we expected, I'm assuming Jack Ashton's still in the car. According to our list, he is. And that'll be a fuel-only stop. We'll now do another stint on the hard tyres. Now, what'll be interesting now is when those two come out, we can now work out the difference of what a tyre stop makes. We knew that Boo Barracuda were 15 seconds ahead. Jack Ashton nearly making a big error as he comes back out of the pit there. Now, starting to get the activity in the first real big change of the race. The 35 Quatermass car, Michael Tyler, is now in the lead because they haven't come into the pits yet. I think they're the only ones that haven't pitted because Ashton is now in second. Avanti have also had a driver change. Max Wishling then has come into the number 7 car in place of Edson Mangera. Through. Boo Barracuda have now rejoined the track. It tells you it's a big difference in terms of time. It should be normally sort of 30 seconds or so for a tyre change. And now the Quatermass car comes in, so that's the last of the cars to make their first pit stop. And Michael Tyler, I will wait and see if he hands over to Aaron Daly. It looks like yes, I can see them. Yes, he has. So Aaron Daly just getting into the car now in place of Michael Tyler, car number 35. So, 98 car of Team Purple Helmet, staying on those hard tyres, will take over the lead. It looks like they've got about 11 seconds on Onicam Sport, then another 11 seconds on Napa Racing UK, and then another about 12 seconds on Boo Barracuda. We'll just wait to get to the end of this lap and those times will shake out. Ashton's already come through and is in the lead. Confirmation that here is now Aaron Daly in the car on the 35 Quatermass car. So Team Purple Helmet leads Onicam Sport by about 11 seconds. That's about the same as it was between those two cars before the pit stop. So they are both still on their hard tyres on which they started the race. The Napa car's now 10 seconds behind Onicam Sport. I think they had a slow lap or something when they came into the pit because they shouldn't have been that close to the Quatermass car, to the other Quatermass car. So Napa Racing UK have lost about 9 seconds somewhere. Boo Barracuda another 12 seconds further back. So compared to Purple Helmet, Boo Barracuda were 15 seconds ahead. They're now 34 behind. So the difference there was about 50 seconds. a second a minute, which means you need to be looking really for a second and a half a lap. So the strategy, if Ashton can make these hard tyres work at that pace and they don't drop too much the next stint, it's going to start looking like it's the way to go. Let's see how much quicker. Obviously now Stuart French is in the car rather than Martin Buchan. Is on those tyres. The 35 Quatermass cars had a bit of a problem in the pits. They've made an error in terms of their fuel. In terms of whether they're putting too much or not enough, but they've not got their fuel strategy and fuel settings right when they're coming to make the pit stop, and that's going to cost them a bit of time there. You can see the tyre information on your screen. They're the original hard tyres being set there for Purple Helmet and Cam Sport. Only go for the gap still on the mediums, everyone else running softs. And that looks like, yeah, that's the 35 Quatermass car. They're coming in again. So they've obviously forgotten to put the fuel settings on, and they've had to make an extra pit stop now to rectify it and make sure the fuel goes in this time around. I'm hoping in the next few minutes that we might be able to get Martin Buchan in to come and join us for a chat and just get him to talk through a bit of their strategy and see how he did it. It was a mightily impressive run, some great times that the wee Scotsman was putting in, and I'm sure he won't mind me calling that on there. The lap times are going to be interesting now. Let's have a look. So 35.2 for Ashton on the hards, 35.1 for Ben Brown, only Cam Sport, 33.5 on the move, Adam Christopher on fresh tyres, 34.5 for Stuart French. They need to make a bit more ground up than that, really, to make that strategy work. But Adam Christopher, having lost a bit of time in the pits, is on the move. He's just under 8 seconds behind Ben Brown, but on soft tyres, fresh tyres, he's got a big advantage to try and push for what will be on the road at least second place. Go on, send him in. Well, I'm very happy to say, while I'm here, I'm going to have to muck around my earphones, that we have been joined by Boo Barracuda's Martin Buchan on the soft tyres. A very impressive stint there, putting in a lot of 33s.
Yeah, this is glamorous, isn't it, lads? Here, passing the headset. No, cheers. Yeah, no, I just did my job. That's all I can say, really. Just got my head down, and after the first lap, I was like, oh my god, I'm miles ahead. I'd broken the draft after the first lap, and it's just driving at 90% with this car because, I mean, the tyres say they're still fine, but they're not. I mean, the thing just has crazy rotation at low speed, and it's a nightmare to drive after about 5 laps, and you just got to drive at 90% and just be like, it's fine, everyone else got the same issue.
Were you surprised to be making up the gap you see? I mean, we've seen now on the thing that's on the timing screen here that the purple helmets are running the hard tyres as well, and obviously they've now stopped and gone fuel only. Does that put it in reference now in terms of the gap you made? Are you kind of sat here in hindsight now, you've seen on the hard tyres, wishing that Martin Buchan has got his head in his hands in front of me in the commentary box? It's like bullseye. Let's have a look at what you could have won. Are you kind of wishing you pushed a bit harder now?
Not wishing I pushed harder, but I wish they were on a soft tyre because I thought I was doing really well. And now that just kind of goes, oh, that was all right, Martin. It wasn't the greatest now, but it is what it. I mean, I'm hoping it costs them later on. That's the only thing. I know Cam Sport have double stinted their tyres as well, but I'm hoping that it's got to be a case of, well, they're already not great. They're just going to get worse, and you're on a full tank of fuel, and Frenchie's on new softs, and hopefully just doesn't bin it, and then we can do the rest, I think, to be honest.
Just one more question on Martin, and I'll let you go. I won't make you sit here with me all day. We did see a lot of mistakes. Some of the other drivers sitting outside the top 3. Most of the cars had spins in the first stint. I know you just mentioned it earlier on, can you just try and put into words just how difficult these cars are to drive around this track, and just how difficult it is particularly to get it stopped into turn 1? Yeah,
I mean, the high ABS doesn't help. I mean, you mash the pedal thinking, well, the ABS has got to do all the work for me. And you start slowing down, you think, oh, this is fine. And then you get to a point and you go, I'm not stopping. It's just not going to happen. And then it was the thing, I think it's the downforce as well, because some of these cars are quite slow. If you don't keep the speed up, the downforce goes and it just rotates, just mad, especially into the horseshoe. and stuff. That's where the crazy. I've had it a couple of times. Just you think you've got it fine, you go through the corner, and then the car just wants to keep turning, and you're just like, I don't want that at all. And then the hybrid as well on top of it just kicks in, and then before you know it, you're going round. I think it was Nathan shout about 3 times in this pod next to me because he kept spinning it, and then it's just. I've had it throughout practice. The car just, you've got to be concentrated. You cannot stop and just have a nice rest for 2 seconds because it will bite you and just go, ha, well, you shouldn't have done that, and then that's what it is. But everyone's got the same issue. That's the way I put it down to, and it's just getting round it as best you can. I mean, I've driven karts that are a lot worse than that in my BPEC days. I mean, you can go out and you go, well, this kart sucks, but it is what it is. Got to get on with it. You can't change it, because if you could, then everyone had the top setup on.
That's great. Thank you very, very much, Martin, for coming in to join us. All the best for later in the race. Martin Buck in there for Boo Barracuda, whose car now finally done 4th place after the first round of stops, having stopped 4 tyres. So we've got. I'm just looking at the lap times now to see how Stuart French is doing relative to Purple Helmet, and the answer is at the moment not well enough. The lap times have only really made up a few seconds. The lap time about the same last time round. Where we are going to see some very interest, and we're going to have a quick break. We're just coming up to the end of the first hour. Is from Adam Christopher, because he's taking 2 seconds a lap out of only Camsport. Of course, Ben Brown is double stinting those hard tyres. Adam Christopher's on fresh softs. He came out 10 seconds behind, and he's got the gap down to 3, and it is coming down fast. We're just coming to the end of the first hour, so we're going to take a very quick break. We'll leave you on board with Adam Christopher just for the next lap or so, and then we'll come back and we'll give you a roundup, and we'll get hour 2 underway. We are back as we're into the second hour of the 4 hours of Daytona, and we're just about to see here live a change of second place. It's been coming for a while. Fresh, soft tyres and short fuel of the first stop for Adam Christopher. And he's going to try and come past the only camp sport car, Ben Brown, who's going to fight back as they come into turn 1. Ben Brown has made a pit stop and is running the same hard tyres running since the start of the race an hour and 4 minutes ago. Big toe there for Christopher as well. He had a fastest third sector of the race thanks to the toe. Will he up the inside of turn 3? How hard Ben Brown going to fight this? Christopher's already had one spin in this race, trying to get past Ben Brown, but he's been catching him since the pit stops, thanks to those fresh tyres, at a rate of 2 seconds a lap. This battle now a big one as far as one of the leading positions in this race is concerned. Team Purple Helmet are leading by 9.5 seconds. They're doing about the same pace on the hard tyres. Jack Ashton also running double stinting those hard tyres, just taking fuel to stop. Stuart French on the soft tyre for Boo Barracuda. We are early leads with Martin Buchan. They're about 21 seconds behind this pair. But Stuart French is not quite gaining the same level of performance that Martin Buchan did, and he's not really making much, if any, progress. Here comes Adam Christopher again, round the outside on the banking as they come back towards the bus stop, onto the super stretch. He's on the outside. We'll just have to wait, get a good run through the bus stop. Don't get on the power too early. Or a little bit almost, a little bit too cautious, I think, from Adam Christopher. And I think he'll be too far behind, even with a big toe. And this obviously is going to bring the lap times back down. This is a sort of deliberate strategy, short fuel, soft tyres, to try and regain this position that he tried to take all the way back in the first 10-15 minutes of the race. He's on the outside again. He's going to be ahead over the line, but can he get clearance? Oh, that was tight. That was tight. He's got the move done, but he had to push that to the limit. There really was no margin for error, but Napa Racing UK, car 51 with Adam Christopher, up into second place now, just under 10 seconds behind the leader. So now that that battle's sorted, we can give you a bit of a rundown of what we know and the positions with 1 hour and 5 minutes gone. Team Purple Helmet, car number 98 are your leaders. Jack Ashton double stinting the hard tyres. He leads by 9.6 seconds now from Adam Christopher's short-fueled, soft-tyred Napa Racing UK car. The Onyx Camp Sport car of Ben Brown is in third place now, but also double stinting the hard tyres and playing the long game. Boo Barracuda have dropped from first to fourth after their pit stop. They're just over 30 seconds off the lead, with Stuart French now in the car in place of Martin Buchan. Fifth place, the number 35 Quatermass car, now being driven by Aaron Daly rather than Michael Tyler, and he's been doing a great job so far. He's been lapping almost as quick as Adam Christopher in the 133s, and that's allowed him to build up a gap of nearly 9 seconds over his stablemate, the 63 Quatermass star, which is still being driven, as it has been from the start, by Ben Bennyworth. Number 7, Avanti Racing have had a driver change. Max Wishling is now in the car in place of Edson Manguera. 8th, Barracuda, Sean King has had a few spins, but he's carrying on after making his first pit stop in 8th and only go for the gap with Dan Hyde. Rounds out the field in 9th place, and there he is being lapped by your race leader, the first car to go a lap down, the number 2 there. I was just about to say, I've lost my time and see it looks like it's about to get lapped, and thank you, Dane, for putting it on our screens just in time. So, the question is, how short-fueled are Napa? Because Adam Christopher's still going, a second a lap quicker than Jack Ashton. Ashton doing an admirable job of keeping that car going on those tyres in the 1 minute 35. Now, he's been on those same set of tyres for well over an hour. And it does say something about the strategy and what a good job he's doing, that when we just a few minutes ago talked to Martin Buchan after his stint on the soft tyres, he had his head in his hands once he realised that Jack was double stinting the hards and just took fuel on that first stop around about 15-20 minutes ago. So an interesting race developing strategically, which is what you want from a good endurance race. We are just over 1 hour and 7 minutes gone. Purple Helmets lead by 7.6 seconds from Napa Racing, and that gap now coming down rapidly thanks to the tyre advantage that Adam Christopher's got. Three more races in the championship to enjoy. We'll be in GT cars for the next round, which is the 6 hours of Estoril. That's coming up in the middle of May. Back into these hypercars in Bahrain in July. And then the 4th round beginning of September is... I can't remember what the track is. Do you remember, Dane? Yes, it is Interlagos. Interlagos in Brazil for the fourth and last championship round back in the GT3 cars in September. And then the GT3 cars will also be used for the 24 hours, which won't count as part of the championship. Don't miss that coming up in the middle of November. Adam Christopher, 1.7 seconds quicker than Jack Ashton now on that time around. The gap's down to less than 7 seconds. So depending on how short fueled Napa have got, we could see another change the lead quite shortly. Meanwhile, Aaron Daly is out. Now we know it's him, and we're now absolutely sure it's him. I have been out to admonish Max Spooner about that. He knows I'm not particularly pleased with him. But Aaron Daly's flying. He's just done a 1:33.1, which is only 0.2 of a second off Martin Buckley. He's just done a 33. He's been pumping in the 33s. He was just ahead of teammate Ben Bennyworth when they came out of the pits. He's now 12 seconds ahead of him. What's the car ahead? Boo Barracuda, Stuart French is the car ahead. The gap's 19 seconds, but he's going over a second a lap quicker here. So it turns out all that praise I mistakenly gave Aaron Daly in the first 20 minutes of the race was actually accurate all along. Yeah, now I have said that. I cursed Michael Tyler, even though it was someone else's name, but yeah, now I've said that. Aaron probably will go. But Aaron, he really is turned to a really good, accomplished young driver. But some of the times he's put in at the moment are absolutely superb. I just hope he's maybe not lunching the tyres and taking too much out of them. I mean, already 20 minutes, nearly halfway through the stint. So in the next 20 minutes, if we see the lap times really drop off, we'll know that he's pushing it too hard. So just looking at the times now with an hour and 10 minutes gone. And to be honest, I think barring any mistakes, see how quickly Darkness has descended as well here. I think most likely the next, barring any mistakes, change of position is probably, I think, going to be for the lead. Just how quickly Alan Crisp is making. He's done a really, really good job after that early spin of recovering well. Napa Racing UK were down as low as 7th after that spin. Potentially could be about to go P1. They've, of course, got 2 more drivers to come in the car. They've got Cameron Williamson. They've also got John Dean Smith to come as well, who've both shown good pacing. Cameron Williamson's not had much time in the car. He did the bulk of the running in the 1-hour free practice session that we had before qualifying, but he seemed to get up to speed with the car very well, and even initially was straight down to low 33s, so we can see good pace from him. John Dean Smith has tested this car probably more than most, and so will undoubtedly be on the pace whatever compound he's running when he starts driving later on. Team Purple Helmet, how Will Murphy to look forward to. He's done well in testing, but he is a newcomer. How will he fare relative to Jack Ashton? But this is a superb performance for Ashton. Still doing high 34s, low 35s on tyres that are now nearly an hour and a quarter old. And if he can make them last to the end of this stint, which means probably another, 25 minutes or so, he's going to put his team in a really, really strong position. I wouldn't like to say I think any of the top 4 have got a reasonable chance of winning this race, and they're all kind of doing very different things in terms of their driver lineups and their strategies. So, really into sort of the meat and drink of the second hour, this race is developing very, very nicely. Down to 5 seconds now, gap between the front 2. Look at the Boo Barracuda car in 4th. Stuart French is driving at a good steady pace, but he's not making up the ground they needed to after they made that tyre stop. After that stop, they found themselves about 33, 34 seconds behind Team Purple Helmet. That's exactly where they still are now. So he's running the same pace on those fresh softs that Jack Ashton's running on very used hards. In fact, Ashton's really dropped back into the 34s now, pushing on a bit more. I think knowing that Adam Christopher's coming up behind him. 34.4 last time round for Ashton, 33.9 for Adam Christopher, and the gap's down to just over 4 seconds. Pit stop for the 35 car. Aaron Daly's in. Not sure. I know they made a bit of a mistake. That's the third pit stop now for that car because they did make a fuel error. So not sure why they've come in again. Certainly not a driver change because I can see that Michael Tyler's hanging around. So Aaron Daly will come back out, but it's dropped that then down, dropped them a lap down for starters, and it's actually dropped them to the rear of the field. Hopefully he'll get back out very soon. And is that the Napa car coming in? Or is that Aaron going back out? I say 35 going back out. I saw the onboard and some blue front wing pieces, and I thought it might be Napa car coming in because we know they did take quite short fuel, so they might be kicking out steep slightly. Because Adam Christopher is now less than 3 seconds behind Jack Ashton. I'm wondering how hard Jack might defend. To be honest, Aaron Daly has rejoined, but is now a lap down, and unfortunately has dropped to 9th and last place. I think we're getting to the point now. We're going to have to keep an eye on Adam Christopher and the battle for the lead. Here he is. Absolutely flying on those soft tyres. The gap's down to 2.3 seconds now. That number 51 Napa Racing UK entry has been slowly climbing that leaderboard over the course of the last, 55 minutes. 33.4 by Adam Christopher that lap. It's only just over a tenth of his best lap of the entire race. You see picture in picture there, you've got Jack Ashton in the lead. Yeah, I think you can tell there, just from that bit where you're coming squarely out of turn 3, how much Jack Ashton's pushing. Try and get it into the 34, get the performance out of the tyres, but he can't. He's not made a significant mistake yet in over an hour and a quarter of driving. He's going to throw it all away now. Adam Christopher on fresher tyres breathing down his neck. Again, as we said with Boo Barracuda earlier, very differing strategies here. These two in turn are 7.5 seconds ahead of Ben Brown in the only Camsport car. Are we looking at the main contenders for victory here? Nice to have the onboard pictures. Nice to see Dane making use of all the toys that are at his disposal this afternoon. Adam Christopher, that one spin aside trying to pass Ben Brown in the early stages, has driven superbly. Went a bit too low onto the apron there though. Just unsettled the car slightly. It'll cost him a little bit in terms of how quickly he can get to the top speed. Might just cost him a tenth or two here and there. Going up to the line once again. These lap times will be interesting. See if Jack's still lapping in the 34s. He is 34.7. And yeah, a bit of a mistake there that Adam's only able to do a 34.3 that time around. The gap is 1.8 seconds. Three. That fast left-hander return 4. Or turn 6, sorry. Completely misplaced for uppers on the track, apologies. And now they come back onto the oval, and now there really isn't much between them at all. It's just about getting to the point now where Adam Christopher is going to start getting the draft. We are approximately 1/3 of the way through this race. And are we about to see our third different race leader? I think we probably are. How many more laps has Adam got? Will they need to pit again? I would say the next round of pit stops are probably, I would say, only around 15, at the very most 20 minutes away. Full tank of fuel is only really lasting sort of 45 to 50 minutes. So we're into kind of the second half of this stint. Purple helmet will definitely change tyres. I imagine they may well change driver as well. The gap's now just half a second. On board with Adam Christopher. 33.5 by Christopher last time out. I think that's really benefiting from he made up 2/10 low in the last sector, which is just the draft and the oval, and it's nose to tail for the lead. Turn 5, I think Adam Christopher's already spun there once trying to make an overtake. I think he's going to be a little bit more circumspect, trying to pass there, more likely to try and do what he did to Ben Brown and use the draft. Coming down the straight into turn 1. Ashton went really wide there. I think that's just struggling for grip. Did he get a bit more traction though as he came onto the banking? Into the bus stop. That might, with the draft, I think that's going to be close enough, and I think Adam Christopher may be able to just sail past here well before they get to the braking zone for turn 1. Dane's shaking his head at me, he doesn't seem to think so. You reckon he lifted off? Interesting. I wonder if that means he might just happy to hold station the last bit of this stint. We're going to try and spring a surprise somewhere else. Unless he felt that he couldn't get the move done clearly. He was right on the limit when he passed Ben Brown at the same part of the track. It would make that. I've been told that Napa did short fuel, so, and it's been at least half an hour. So if that's the case, then he'd have to pit again pretty soon. So maybe thinking, what's the point of pushing it if I'm only going to be in the lead for 1 or 2 laps and can't actually make any time? It's not really worth it for the track position with more than 2.5 hours of racing to go. Dave, if you can't hear me in the background, he's sort of sat next to me. He reckons that the Napa car will box within the next lap or 2. I can see his point. It wouldn't surprise me. I think Adam Christopher would very much regard this as mission accomplished. If they come in, they will change driver, because I happen to know that there's a certain time that Adam Christopher needs to leave by, and that time is only about 20 minutes away. So the next stop there will be a driver change. I think it's going to be Cam Williamson, probably going in the car next on John Dean Smith, and I think that is are they coming in? No, not this time. You can see the activity around the Napa bot. He's not coming this time though. And look how his lap time suddenly drops. He's lifted off down to high 34s, low 35s. Well, the question when you've got it nose to tail like this is the car in third place catching up? The answer is no, not really. Ben Brown is still 9 seconds down the road. This by far the closest battle on the track. Ben Brown also doing sort of mid-high 34s around the same kind of pace, but he's double stinted those hard tyres as well. Into turn 5. Back onto the banking, and it really is nose to tail now. I'm sure if he gets a chance just to draft past, he'll take it, but they're going to make a pit stop shortly, and we think they may well be. Not really an incentive to do so. Around turns 1 and 2 of the banking, turns 7 and 8 on the actual road course, and now turns 9, 10, 11 and 12 are the bus stop. Left, right, right then left. Oh, and Ashton lost drive. Ashton lost drive coming out there through turn 12, and now the chance for Adam Christopher, he's right behind him. Is he going to come in? Have a look. There's barely a car length between them. Stayed out. Stayed out. Still going. But not really making any active effort to overtake. It's something I said earlier on when Alan Chris was coming up behind one of the other cars. As I moved into turn 1, it was a case of, if it was a 20-minute touring car race, he'd be going for it. An hour and 25 minutes gone, irrespective of whether it's short fuel or not. We will be seeing, I think, second stops from pretty much all the cars coming up very shortly. I think certainly within the next 10 minutes we will start seeing some more pit stops. Looking back through the time, no real changes further back. Aaron Daly lost a bit of time to Stuart French, about 10 seconds. I think he might have made a small error somewhere. Round the banking, the leaders come once again. And this time he is coming in. Now Adam Christopher is coming in. Absolutely sterling effort. This will be Adam Christopher done for the day. Just wait to see who is going to be getting into the car, whether it's going to be Cameron Williamson. I suspect it'll be Cameron Williamson and be John Dean Smith taking the anchor leg. But what a great performance after that early error of Adam Christopher to get the car right back into contention for a podium at the very least. And it is Cam Williamson who's coming into the car now. So he'll be doing the middle third of the race, I'd imagine. We are just over a third in. And then it will be John Dean Smith to take out the last hour or so. So this will be quite a long stop. It'll be a tyre change as well. I imagine it'll be softs again. They're coming with about 2:35 to go, so it's worth keeping a note of how much earlier they pitted compared to everybody else. It won't be a huge amount, it might only be 10 minutes or so. Onyx Camsport have gone through, Boo Barracuda gone through. Obviously, doing tyres and fuel, it's going to be a long stop. It's a long pit lane as well. Quatermass have gone through. Fancy and Boo Barracuda. Just see, I'm just doing the change, and it is Cameron Richardson in the car. It is a very long stop. I think they might even... I suppose there's more fuel to put in after they short fueled it before. Yes, that is true. There was only a rear tyre stop last time, so they do need to do all four. The Napa Racing actually go a lap down. Time being. I don't know whether that took Jack Ashton by surprise with just at the threshold, because his last lap he'd actually dropped into the 136s. Whereas on Camsport, Ben Brown did a 34.5, so that gap's actually come down to just over 7 seconds. Ben Brown has been, since the early pressures, had a very quiet race, but he's actually done a really good job, consistent, no big mistakes that we were aware of, and seems to have managed those hard tyres really well now for approaching an hour and a half. Out comes the Napa car once again with Cameron Richardson at the wheel. just behind Boo Barracuda on track, but of course a lap behind it, so currently classified in 7th place. But with another round of pit stops to come within the next 5 or 10 minutes, that will very much change once again, I'm sure. I will make my best efforts after he gets out the car. We will try and have a bit of a chat with Jack Ashton. See how we got on. I mean, Martin Buchan said that he struggled to keep those soft tyres and manage them and keeping the pace up for 45, 50 minutes of his first stint. Jack Ashton's done it with the hards for almost twice as long now, but it will be an hour and a half by the time he gets to the end of this lap, and he's still doing, he's just on a 1:34.6, so I think he did make a little bit of an error on that lap after the Napa car pitted. You are on board with your race leader. And I think it's, as well as the strategy, I think it's the pace of Will Murphy when he gets into the car relative to what Jack Ashton's able to do that could well be a major deciding factor in this race. But I think Purple Helmet, only Casbourne, but Ben Brown will be getting out. Who's going to be replacing him? It's going to be Matt Scott, see how he does as well. And then obviously Richardson and John Dean Smith coming into the Napa car. I think any of those 3 cars have still got a good viable chance of winning this race. Not sure about Boo Barracuda now. Unfortunately, Stuart French just hasn't been able to match the searing pace that we saw in the opening stage for Martin Buchan. But I personally think this is still a 3-way fight for the win, because it's still a 2 or 3 man team. It's a team sport rather than individual one, and as good as Jack Ashton we know is and has been in this race so far, can't do the whole thing on his own. Although at one point we thought he might have to. This week we weren't sure he had a teammate. We thought he might have to do it solo, which I think even would have pushed him to his limits. God, you can't hear Danny said he just did 7 hours solo consecutively of the Spa 24 hours. I think his Spa's so long, that's only about 8 laps. So, we're an hour and a half in now. We've got to the 90-minute mark. So, we're going to take a very short break for a couple of minutes, because I don't think it'll be very long until we get the next round of pit stops. Bit of technical news that's going on forward with a bit of a problem involving your race leader Purple Helmet. He's got a loose steering wheel, he's struggling with the downshift. Now the Simply Race team are trying to address that problem as we speak, to maybe explain why Jack Ashton's lost a bit of performance over the last few laps, and how only Campbell been able to reduce the gap a little bit, and it's down to just over 5.5 seconds now. between the front two cars. I mean, the one thing we're working Team Purple Helmet's favour there is we have got a round of pit stops coming up. So, see how that goes. How's Cam Richardson doing in the Napa car, running in the 34s? We are on board with Go for the Gap because they've closed up to the 35 Quatermass car there in Dave's pitting out. Seeing they're a lap down. What, number 2 car stopped? Oh, they swapped. Oh, so the 35's passed on. Yeah, because they had another stop, didn't they? Aaron had another stop, so we've recovered 8th position. Thank you for that, Dame. Jack do last time, he's back into the 35, so running repairs, but we are expecting, apart from the 35 car and the Napa car, I think we'll see pit stops within the next few minutes now for nearly everybody else, and I think we'll see a fair few driver changes too. So, let's give you a quick state of play of the current standings, and we've got some pit stops coming up. So, Purple Helmet with Jack Ashton leading by 5.8 seconds from Ben Brown, the only Cansport. Those are the 2 cars that have double stinted the hard tyres right from the very start of the race. Third, Boo Barracuda with Stuart French at the wheel, not went quite as fast as Martin Buchan, 26 seconds behind, running on the softer tyres. The number 63 car of Quatermass of Ben Benniwer. We've not mentioned him much. He's had a good consistent run, not too many major errors. He's a minute behind, running on the soft tyre in 4th place. Avanti Racing, after an early spin for Edson Manguera, has now recovered up to 5th in the hands of Max Wishling. Barracuda in 6th. Sean King's been driving that from the start, had a few early spins, but seems to have done a bit better on his second set of tyres. Napa Racing UK is 7th a lap down. They'd closed right onto the back of Jack Ashton for the lead, but pitted out of sequence because they'd short field under Brandon Christopher. Cam Richardson has now taken over that car, and we've just seen the number 35 Quatermass Motorsport car of Aaron Daly just move back up into 8th place, having had to make a couple of unscheduled stops ahead of the Onid Go for the Gap car driven by Dan Hyde. So with 1 hour and 36 minutes gone, we are 40% of the way through this race, and that is how things stand. So I think the big question we're going to see resolve itself over the next few minutes is Team Purple Helmet will stop. We'll see obviously what the situation is with their steering wheel. Which tires will they go for? Will Murphin take over? I imagine he probably will. And what will his pace be like relative to Cam Richardson, who's made a steady start in the Napa car, just lapping in the mid-34s. It's not an absolutely searing pace, but he is, of the 3 drivers in that team, he is the least experienced here at Simply Race. So certainly just feeling his way in, which is why Napa gave him the lion's share of the time in the free practice session this morning. So a bit of news, Jack Ashton will remain in the car. Obviously they're going to have to pit shortly, they will have to take on fuel and tyres, it will be a long stop, but Jack Ashton will be running the next stint. Gauntlet thrown down to the Napa team in particular. Has to be said though, Ben Brown doing a superb job. He's actually just dipped back into the 33s on tyres that are now nearly 100 minutes old. Here he is, we've not seen much of him in the last 20 minutes or so, but he's only just over 5 seconds behind Jack Ashton now. I mean, Jack's back into low 34s. He's doing well, especially if there's problems with the steering wheel. With the hard tyre strategy working, at least so far, in this first half of the race. That's how hard Ben Brown's pushing there. Very hard tyres. News feed, see what's going on. Barracuda will be stopping probably, where are they? In sector 2. I think No, in sector 1, so... Well, it says OO Barracuda. That could be OO, that could be Boo. That doesn't help. One of the Barracuda cars will be stopping shortly. Either Boo Barracuda, who are third, Stuart French, or the 95 OO Barracuda car with Sean King that's currently in 6th place. Boo Barracuda is in sector 3 at the moment, so... It's OO Barracuda, so... Yeah. Thank you, Adam, for that update. It will be OO Barracuda, and a mistake there by Cam Richardson, just a little one, overcooking into turn 1. He probably hasn't lost more than about 1 second. But again, I know we saw a lot early in the race. It's still very, very easy to make errors, particularly there, turning and braking at the same time from potentially over 200 miles an hour. Get it stopped into turn 1, which is first gear, and there is the 95 car of OO Barracuda coming into the pits. Sean King potentially may hand over to Nathan Burton. They come now, and they are changing driver as well as doing fuel and tyres. OO was just there was a minute and a quarter off the race lead, and go one. They might even go 2 laps down here as well after the stop. And here is Jack Ashton in for his second stop. And only Cam Sport are in as well. First and second are both in. We understand Jack Ashton is going to carry on. And Cam Sport are swapping. So Ben Brown will be out of the car. Matt Goodger-Scott will be in. We'll let the pit stop shake out. We'll see how high Napa Racing UK climb back up the order. Cam Richardson is doing 34s. So he's just come to the end of a lap now. He's lost about a second because of that little error. But he's still doing good time. So Boo Barracuda, with Stuart French at the wheel, at least on the road, has taken over the lead. First time in nearly an hour now that car has been at the top of the leaderboard, but they have still got another pit stop to make. '63 Quatermass also coming in. Ben Bennyworth. He's done a double stint, so he may well hand over, and that is the number 7 Avanti car, which have been chasing him down over the last few laps. Max Wishling's done a really good job, and only 3 seconds. They were 4th and 5th on the road, only 3 seconds behind, as Jack Ashton resumes the track. It looks like after a relatively short stop. I wonder what they've done in terms of, because there was only about 6 seconds between them and only Cam Sport. Only Cam Sport are still stationary in the pits. This is a much longer stop. We're back on the move now, and that is looks like a significantly longer stop, so it wasn't that much. Not a bit. We'll wait and see once the timing shake out. We'll see what tyres they're on. The Boo Barracuda are now in, so Jack Ashton will resume the lead, and it looks like it's going to be quite a sizable one, because only Cam Sport have made a significantly longer stop. So the 2 cars that started the race on the hard tyres and double stinted them, going for a significant divergence strategy. Of course, a driver change as well for only Cam Sport, I believe. And I'm just looking at the timings there. It looks as if, I think the gap might be over 20 seconds now. So about a 15-second longer stop. I mean, that's not what that says. Just got to wait. We have to probably give it another couple of seconds, wait for the timing screen to shake out. And I have to apologise to Dane, really, because he was insisting the gap was actually 40-odd seconds between them, and it is. Hang on. We're looking at Boo Barracuda there, aren't we? So we've got to wait for the timing screen to shake out here, because we can very easily get in a mess. Boo Barracuda are in for their second stop. Stuart French in. Wondering if they might be handing back over to Martin Buchan. We think Onid Cam Sport have changed driver. It's not been updated on the list. But Matt Goodger-Scott is in the car. Just needs someone to go and update the list for us and keep us updated. So Jack Ashton has retaken the lead. I think you're actually right, because he's come through the first sector, and the 900 car's only just crossed the line. The gap is 46 seconds. It was 6 seconds. You were absolutely right, Dane. I apologise. I didn't believe you. I'm wondering, yeah, there's a big difference there. Obviously, no Jack Ashton's still in the car. I can see that the driver change foot list is being updated, so thank you all very much for that now, so we can just double check. Martin Buchan is back in Boo Barracuda for 666. Nathan Burton is now the 95 car in place of Sean King. The 63 Quatermass car, Ben Bennyworth is out, Adam Locke is in. Matt Goodger-Scott has replaced Ben Brown in the 900 as well, and Jack Ashton is still in car number 98. So, only Cansport 46 seconds behind and only 2 seconds ahead of Cameron Richardson in the Napa car. Do we have tyre information? Can we check what, let's have a look and see what they've done in terms of tyre strategy here, and see what they've gone for, and yet they have stuck with the hard tyres, the top two it would seem, so Napa on the soft should make gains here and get themselves into a good second place. Right, well, I think we've now understood the divergence in why there's an extra 40-second gap. Not only is Jack Ashton still driving Team Purple Helmet, they are driving on the same set of tyres that they started the race on. Jack Ashton is triple stinting the hard tyres, which is where he's gained the 40 seconds from, because that sounds about right for a change of tyres, doesn't it? 30 seconds or so. So Jack Ashton is going to attempt to run potentially more than half the race in one go on one set of tyres. I mean, it has to be said, before the second pit stop, he was still pumping in 34, so if he feels he's happy with and can do the lap time, then it makes sense not to. And the lap time, his last lap was a 35.2. Matt Goodger-Scott, who's now out of the pits for only cancelled, made a solid start. He's doing a 34.7 on fresh hard tyres. And Napa Racing UK on the fresh softs of Cam Richardson is doing 34.4. So if he can do it, do it. Only go for the gap. Car number 2, they are in for their second stop. Dan Hyde has driven since the start. We'll wait and see if he gets out of the car to be replaced by Aidan Carter. But yeah, we're very much shaken up leaderboard now with an hour and 3/4 gone. The 35 Quatermass car of Aaron Daly now finds itself in 4th place, 9 seconds behind the Napa car. Then 15 seconds further back, we now have Boo Barracuda 666. Martin Buchan back in that one, so I think we should start seeing him climb back up the order. I think he will be probably disappointed after the same number of stops, admittedly, despite Ashton's triple stinted the tyres, to find himself a minute and 11 seconds off the lead. So this race is developing rather nicely, because it's going to be very interesting to see how Jack Ashton's heroics go one way or the other. Funnily enough, I did go and try and ask to see if we could get Jack Ashton to come and speak to us after the pit stop. But if he's still in the car, we definitely have to get some words from him when, or should I say if, he gets out of the car. I think you might have to prize it from him. So what the lap times last time round then? So Ashton 35.0, Goodger-Scott 34.8, and Richardson 34.5. I think we do need to have a look at this battle for second place now, because there's only 1.2 seconds between them. And they also, in one more interesting, is Aaron Daly and Martin Buchan in 4th and 5th are both lapping quicker. So the Napa car is pitting out of sequence. It pitted a good sort of 10 minutes or so earlier than the Cam Sport cars, who are lighter fuel load, and it's on soft tyres rather than the hards. Cam Richardson's also got the benefit that he's now had, 20 minutes or so of track time to get used to the track and know what he's doing, whereas this is only, maybe the 4th or 5th lap of Matt Goodger-Scott's stint. So this is the battle for second place, 45 seconds behind Jack Ashton, who's driving hard tyres that must now practically be triangular, and he's still getting high 34s and low 35s out of them. Very intriguing race in prospect, strategically, as we edge towards the halfway mark. 2 hours and 12 minutes to go. last time round. Goodger Scott, good lap out, I think 34.5. That's his best lap so far, I think, Matt Goodger Scott. 34.7 for Richardson. Out of the second, brewing nicely. The thing is, they could well get caught over the course of the stint because Aaron Daly's 8.5 seconds behind is doing 34 flats. Richardson did a 34.7 last time round. Martin Buchan is about 22 seconds behind this pair, but he's doing 33.5s. So he's taking over a second a lap out. Martin Buchan on fresh soft tyres. He's always going to be a threat in any type of racing car, but certainly in this one. But this is working in Jack Ashton's favour because they're only taking out, what, half a second a lap? Just confirmation about Go For The Gap Racing car number 2. It is Aidan Carter in the car now. He did replace Dan Hyde at that last stop. So I think everybody has now changed drivers at least once, apart from Jack Ashton. So Will Murphy, who's been faithfully watching Jack Ashton's progress so far, the only one of our, well, I haven't got John Dean Smith either, they've got 3 in the Napa car. Those are the only 2 drivers here with us today who have not yet taken any part in this race as we get to 10 minutes, sort of halfway. Got the picture-in-picture there of Cam Richardson's progress in Napa Racing car as he chases down Matt Scott. They're both in the high 34s. They're only a few tenths a lap quicker. Jack Ashton. And the battle at the moment with 2nd, 3rd, 4th and 5th is coming together really nicely. And what we'll have to, I mean, Aaron Daly I think has done a superb job in this stint so far. What we'll now have to see is what Will Murphy does. I mean, when Jack Ashton's probably got another at least half an hour till he stops again, I imagine Will Murphy will take over the rest of the race, and I wonder if their strategy would then be for Murphy to run one set of hards for the last, probably 2 stints? I think we get to halfway, they should be looking maybe at only making 2 more pit stops. Napa might be able to get away with 2 more pit stops. They might be tight on fuel mileage though, so they might have to be a little bit careful here and there. Lap times that time by Jack Ashton 35.6. A little bit slower than last time. I don't know if there was an error somewhere. I think maybe made a mistake in the first sector. Goodger Scott 34.6. Richardson 34.7. Daly 34.3. And Martin Buchan's just come up to the line now, does a 33.4. So 2nd, 3rd, 4th and 5th all gradually concertinaing up, and I think that will probably, barring any mishaps, will be the story of this stint. Well, that and of course how well Jack Ashton's tyres hold out. If he makes an error, he drops into the 36s, 37s, then the advantage of trying to run those tyres for that long will be negated. So around they go, and they're holding stakes at the moment in mid-34s for Goodger Scott and for Cam Richardson in 2nd and 3rd. Fastest man on the track, definitely Martin Buchan, but with lots and lots of work to do. I mean, Buchan's pace relative to Ashton obviously is a lot quicker. He's taking over a 2.5 seconds a lap out of him, but because of the divergence in strategy, more than anything else, he's still 1 minute and 4 seconds behind. Very close to the halfway mark of this race, under full darkness now, as will be the case for the remaining, we've got 2 hours, 6.5 minutes to go. It has been a very, very fascinating race to watch and to talk about so far, given the big differences in strategy. We've got teams like Napa who are trying to max it out at ultimate pace, use the soft tyre, and Boo Barracuda with Martin Buchan in particular as well, and try and make that worth advantage by pumping in low 34s and 33s where they can. And then you've got only Camsport, and particularly Team Purple Helmet with Jack Ashton, trying to make those hard tyres last as much as possible and take the times with high 34s and 35s. And I'm delighted to say that Ben Brown has come to talk to us. In our very, very small commentary position. Ben, thank you very, very much for coming to join us. I'm going to have to pass it, and you just have to talk into it like this, because it's a truly amateur setup. But having double stinted the hard, I just wanted to get your view of how well you managed to pace going to 34s and 35s for, over an hour and a half?
Yeah, pretty good. Managed to do my fastest lap with like 3 laps to go. Well, you give me a headset, then I've just got a mic there. I'm going to blame, but everyone blames Dane, it's fine. I took it quite easy on the first stint and then started pushing a bit more in the second one. And so, yeah, they were fine. Don't know if we could get them a full other stint. I think that might have been a bit much, but yeah, absolutely fine. That's the racing I kind of like doing rather than sprint racing. So, yeah, very nice.
You must have been quite relieved that you had 2 cars giving you a lot of pressure in that sort of first 10 or 15 minutes, and then they both made errors and fell by the wayside.
Oh yeah, definitely. I think it was perfect because it just gave me the fresh air that I needed to be able to just do my thing, look after the tyres. Wasn't too close to Jack in front, and he kind of got away for a bit. And so, yeah, just plodding along, not in the toe of anyone, so wasn't washing out or anything like that. So yeah, it was good.
Now, Jack, we believe, is triple stinting and is still on those same tyres. Do you think that's going to work for them? Do you think that will help you come back into late in the race? How do you see the race playing out from your perspective going into the second half?
Well, we can kind of use it as a tester because, in theory, we could triple in the last 3 stints or however many stints are left.
Yeah, you're thinking maybe just 2 more stops from here?
Oh, yeah. There'll only be 2 more stops from here, I think. We're max fueling. I know that the Napa guys are doing something slightly different with their strategy, like short fueling. But we think that we can... If the tyres go well for Jack, then we'll probably just do the same in our final stint because, they were fine. We just weren't sure that we'd be able to make them go 3 full stints instead of 2. And it seems that Napa are just constantly overtaking us with their strategy. So we're just going to try and keep up as close as we can to them because they are quick. So.
It's going to be interesting to see how it plays out. Ben, thank you very much for joining us. You can go and stare at Jack's lap times for the next half an hour, I'm sure. Yeah, Ben Brown there of only Camsport, and we're watching his teammate Matt Good just got in second place in fending off the increasing attentions of Cameron Richardson for Napa UK. And I think Ben has described really, really well there the version of strategy that's needed. And he's right, we've got what's looking like a 5-stint race, and it looks like it might be a 3-stint, then a 2-stint with 2 sets of hard tyres for Team Purple Helmet. And only Camsport can do the other way around and do 2, then 3, if they feel that Jack's 3rd stint goes well. And so they will, as I say, they will be watching Jack's progress in the next, half an hour until he pits again. Very, very keenly indeed. So Napa's kind of the joker in the pack because they're running soft tyres a lot more, short fueling. I'm wondering if they may have to make 3 more stops rather than 2. I'm sure we will find out in due course when John Dean Smith gets in the car later on. So an absolutely fascinating race developing here. And we're just a couple of minutes short of the halfway mark. So I'm going to leave you in the very capable hands of watching this battle for second place. We'll stay on board for the next lap or so with Cam Richardson. And we're back in a couple of minutes. It'll be half time, and we'll give you a bit of a review and run down what we've seen so far. It's half time, but the racing goes on. Simply Race Endurance Series 2023 Round 1, the 4 hours of Daytona, and to paraphrase Murray Walker, with 2 hours of the race gone, there are 2 hours of the race still to go. So let's give you a bit of a roundup of what we've seen so far. The car you are looking at, car number 8, 98, Team Purple Helmet, Jack Ashton almost having a spin. That's the biggest mistake from him that we've seen in the whole race, and the reason that he's made that mistake is he's running the same set of hard tyres he started the race on 2 hours ago. They're trying to triple stint and then run the last double stint with the other hard tyres that Will Murphy will run. That's why, more than anything else, they have a lead of 40 seconds. Jack's done an admirable job of managing those tyres all the way through to 2.5 stints that he's done, and that is the first time, beautiful timing that was, that his halo has slipped. A bit further back, there's a great battle raging for second. Only Cansport with Matt Goodger-Scott is in second place at the moment in car number 900. Here he is with Cam Richardson's number 51 Napa racing car right behind him. Ben Brown double stinted the hard tyres to begin with, and we just had him in the commentary box a few minutes ago, and he says he's going to wait and see what Team Purple Helmet do before they decide whether or not to try and triple stint towards the end. So very much at play, but also trying to nurse the hard tyres through. The Napa car you see here in third place, Cam Richardson driving, they're doing something very different. Adam Christopher made a small error early on, but did a great job recovering with the soft tyres, short fuel. They were right on the back of Jack Ashton before they made their second stop. Cam Richardson is now in the car, but they are planning to run soft tyres through probably we think for the rest of the race, and hope to have the pace towards the end. In fourth place at the moment is the number 35 Quatermass car being driven by Aaron Daly, who I think has done an absolutely superb job so far, alongside Michael Tyler, who a couple of spins aside did well, but Aaron really coming through. Their nominal team principal, Max Spooner, is next to me in the studio. We'll be talking to him very shortly. They're 6 seconds ahead of Boo Barracuda with Martin Buchan. He was the fastest man on track at the moment. He led in the early stages. But they've gone for the soft tyres today. He's had the pace, his teammate Stuart French, not quite on Martin's level, but then a lot of people are. There's no shame in that at all. But Boo Barracuda down in 5th. 6th place, and the last car on the lead lap at the moment is the number 7 Avanti racing car. Seeing some good pace from Max Wishling so far. And then a lap down, number 7th place of the 63 Quatermass Motorsport car. Adam Locke now in the car in place of Ben Bennyworth. Number 95 Boo Barracuda. With Nathan Burton now taking over from Sean King, who had a few spins early on, and then Onid go for the gap. Was Dan Hyde, and it's now Aidan Carter who was rounding up the rear, and they are now 2 laps down in 9th and last place. Just for very quickly, and off. The Napa car is off at turn 5. He was right behind Onid Camsport. And for the second time in this race, we've seen the Napa car go off at turn 5, and that will just nullify that gap for the time being. And the Napa team can't afford those mistakes if they want to be in there mixing it with Onid and Team Purple Helmet when we get towards the business end of the race. And we're just going to rig up a replay for you. We'll have a look at that, and then we will have a chat with Max Spooner. And yeah, I think he's just missed his, looks like he's missed his braking point by quite a long way. Whether the car was unsettled. He's managed to get back on those spins, so he's going to lose. Look at the sector time. He's lost about 4.5, 5 seconds there. So not the biggest time loss in the world. Plenty of time for him and for John Dean Smith on the anchor leg to recover it as well. So, We haven't talked too much about Quatermass today because there had so much going on at the front and everything, and plus we're trying to wind Max up. So, in response, due to the unique way that Simply Race is funded, in the interest of impartiality, I've invited Max to come in and drone on 20 minutes. So, hello Max, how are you, and how do you think your teams plural, are doing so far?
Yeah, I think the response or the result we're getting at the moment, is certainly above the expectation we had coming into this race. We're trying to be having 2 cars on the grid does give us the opportunity to be a bit more creative with the strategy. Yeah, I mean we're sort of like keeping an eye on what the Cam Sport car are doing and the Napa Racing, and maybe we might be in a position to capitalise on further into the race. But the strategies are playing out as we anticipated, and yeah, we'll just keep an eye on the leaders, see what they do, and see what we can do to capitalise on it.
Okay, just seeing your number 35 car in the pits there. I think his driver was also Michael Tyler's getting back in place of Aaron Daly, and for someone who was often on the wilder side of the action in the touring car race, we didn't really get the win at Croft. It's been a superb stint from Aaron. It looks like he's done a really, really good, consistent job.
Yeah, I mean, he's not been feeling 100% today. He's, a little bit under the weather, and I think sort of like at the start of the race, he was a little bit unsure of his pace, but he's put his head down and cracked on with it. And yeah, he's been putting in some really good times, and it just seems to be gelling well with the car. And does it look good? I mean, it looks really good. Yeah, I'm really happy with how that car turned out.
Both of them. It's just a shame. Commentators, we can't really tell them apart because you made them exactly the same. Just one more question for you, Max. We've seen lots of different strategy, particularly at the front, playing out with soft tyres and hard tyres and different kind of paces. Has this made this a more entertaining race for you to watch as a neutral, and how do you think it's going to play out over the last 2 hours overall?
Yeah, I think for us, it's we're in a unique position in the fact that we have got 2 cars in the race, which means we can experiment with what we're seeing out on the track. I think having seen the purple helmets, going for that hard tyre has certainly made us question whether our initial plan was the one to go for. So and as I say, being able to split the strategy does give us that freedom that the other cars don't benefit from. So we'll play out our strategy and without trying to give too much away, just to see how we play out.
That's great, Max. I think Race Control has a special delivery for you here. It's a caffeinated beverage, because I genuinely thought you were basically telling that one of his cars had been given a drive-through or something. Well, I looked up and I saw the 35 cars in the pits. I thought, oh no, Aaron's been given a stop-go. Yeah, and last, for a true piece of Alan Partridge level radio, Max, why is the cappuccino significant?
So in my first event here, I asked Grant for a cup of tea, and he interpreted it as a cappuccino. I don't even drink coffee, so I'm not entirely sure where he got the thought that I specifically asked for a cappuccino, and he'll never let it lie.
Well, there you are, and if you want to come and join us here at Simply Race and Milton Keynes, the hot beverage lottery runs at 6:30, 8 and 9:45. And you know what, actually, let's get Aaron in here, because I have to say, I was very, very impressed with your stint and the consistency you put in. So I just wanted to... Well, the first stint, yes, because it turned out it was Michael. But having said that, I know you've just got out the car now and come and join us. How did you feel? From what you've seen here, look, you did a really good job.
Yeah, I felt like I was doing a decent job at least. Having the lighter fuel and newer tyres at the start of it kind of helped gain time initially, but then I just kept on gaining time in the end when I was on dead tyres and heavy fuel. Also, to anyone that thinks you need to run hard tyres, I was on the same set of soft for ages.
And was there an issue with the first stop and everything? Was there a bit of an error because you had to come back in again straight afterwards?
Not really. We just the fuel setting on the pit sets it initially to only 50 litres rather than 120 that you'd get. So we came and only had 50 litres in the car, hence the light fuel and fast tyres. And I bolted.
Fair, man. So a great job. I'm guessing, well, now you've swapped again, that you'll be back in the car later on for the runs to check flag.
One's hoping.
If not, if Michael's going to drive 2 hours, I'm going to be genuinely very, very impressed. But great job, Aaron. Thank you very much, Aaron. Thank you very much for joining us, and you, Max. Enjoy your coffee. Yeah, just in time to watch a car get overtaken here, because that is a Barracuda right behind the 63 Quatermass car. So that's Nathan Burton right behind Adam Lott. That's for 6th place. That is a fight for position. The 35 Quatermass car has resumed in 8th place. They were 4th. What's going on towards the front as well, after we had those very insightful interviews there with Max Spooner and Aaron Daly. The gap between Cam Sport and Napa after that grassy moment for Cam Richardson has remained at 5 seconds. It's not really changed, but they're both lapping in the 34s. Jack Ashton is still managing to stick in the 35. The gap has come down a little bit, but he's still got an advantage of nearly 33 seconds. Martin Buchan is still pumping in mid-33s at will. He is now only 7.5 seconds behind the battle for second. Here on screen, we've got this battle for 6th place, Barracuda, and this is Adam Locke having to fend off the attentions of Nathan Burton. Burton going around the outside, Locke having to go defensive. It's a great effort, Martin Buchan, because he was well over 20 seconds behind that battle for second, and now it's, well, behind Richardson. But he's 7 Martin, we go up the inside. Nice move by Nathan Burton. Really, really good. Almost a bit of an element of surprise. Shades of Mansell and PK at Silverstone in 1987, I think that one. And that has moved the 95 car back up, at least on the road, before the pit stops shake out into 6th place. Of course, the number 35 car of Tyler and Daly hitting a little bit out of sequence. So, 2 hours and 10 minutes gone. We're getting into... Burton slamming on the brakes there, almost like it's going defensive. And this is the most sort of touring car style action I think we've seen all afternoon. But we're getting into window. We now know it's about 50 minutes or so that a full tank of fuel will last. So once we get down to about 140, so 9 minutes away, we're getting to a window where there's basically two tanks of fuel left in the race, and we might get a bit more variation in terms of pit stops. Whereas, generally speaking, so far, apart from Napa and the 35 car pitting out of sequence, everyone's been stopping pretty much at the same time. I think we'll now start to see that vary in the next round of stops within the sort of next 10 to 20 minutes. One of the great things about Simply Race here is we've got one of those rapid response press the sensors thing, and Will Murphy is warming up for his stint by playing that as we speak. But I do have to say about Jack Ashton, I know he's not on the screen at the moment, just on a 34.9. He's been in that car for 2 hours and nearly 12 minutes now. Dane, do we have a way of finding out how many laps they've completed in the race? Because it's probably about 80 or 90 now, I would have thought. I don't know if there's any way we can... It's not on my timing screen, so I don't know. I can only guess based on the lap time that we've done. I would have said probably about 80 laps now. So I'll leave him to ferret away and find that information. Cam Richardson's getting his confidence back. He did a 34.0 last time around. He's got the gap a little bit wide there coming out turn 3, but he's got the gap back down to 4 seconds on Matt Goodger-Scott. Comes back down to turn 5 once again.
We are on lap number
Good
82.
news for him, obviously with relatively low fuel load. If he can make it another, 5-6 laps, that does put the Napa car in the window like everybody else, that they'll only have to make 2 more pit stops. Unclear at the moment is whether it'll be, in that situation, whether Richardson will do another stint, or whether both of the last two will go the way of John Dean Smith, who has yet to play any part in this race. Indeed, Richardson only 1/10 of a second slower than Martin Buchan last round. Martin Buchan did a 33.9, so it's a good effort there by young Cam. I said he's the least experienced of the 3 drivers on the Napa team. He is quick, and I think he will get better and better as the season has gone on. I think he's taken to this car very, very well. The free practice time helped. He's been in the car now for about 45 minutes or so. Thank you, Annabelle, for confirming we've done 83 laps of this race now, so Jack Ashton on lap 84. Those tyres, I mean, Daytona's what, 3.5, 4 miles round now. So we're talking those tyres have done more than what, 250, maybe even approaching 300 miles. And he's making them last, and he's still doing some of his lap times in the 34s. He did a 34.8 last time round. And even with the obvious abilities of Jack Ashton, it is absolutely superb. We very much hope to get him in the box to speak to him once he eventually gets out of the car. And Richardson into the 33s now, and he's really starting to take a couple of laps. Just to make sure he didn't cook the tyres too much, and now he's getting back onto it and really trying to close the gap on Matt Good to Scott once again. Okay, we're on to the 85th lap of the race. So an hour and 3/4 to go, and it won't be long until we start getting the third of what it looks like will be 4 rounds of pit stops in total. Second, third, and increasingly fourth is where I think we might see the battles fought in the latter part of this stint, because although Richardson's now closed within 2.8 seconds of Matt Good to Scott, Martin Buchan is closing fast. Buchan is only 6.8 seconds behind now. Behind Cam Richardson. He did a 33.5 last time round. And I think I imagine they'll be doing another driver change at the next stop, and then Buchan will take the anchor stint. So I think we'll probably see one more stint from Stuart French in that car, and Buchan will drive the last 45, 50 minutes, I would expect. I couldn't say that for certain. There's your leader, who's just completed his 3,744th lap on this set of tyres. It is believed, as far as I'm aware, that those are actually the first set of racing tyres ever produced, and that Jack Ashton actually bought those from John William Dunlop himself. And they've done very, very well to last that long, which just shows how great British engineering can be. But it won't be long now until he is finally going to hand over to Will Murphy. Meanwhile, the Napa car is in. Napa car is in. The interesting thing now, is it going to be another stint for Cam Richardson, or is it going to be a driver change, and will John Dean Smith go to the end? I'm trying to see if I can see any action around the pod, or there's going to be a driver change. I don't think I can see where the Napa pod is, and I can't see any particular action that looks like a driver change there. So it looks like, yeah, they're actually just, I think, just having a chat and everything. So Cam Richardson's going to carry on, and it's just going to be the last, probably 50 minutes of the race. I mean, 1:43 to go, another minute out the pits. It's going to be 2 stints of 50. They are going to be pushing this to the limit, I think. But I think they're just about going to be okay to get through this race in 2 tanks of fuel. There may have to be a little bit of fuel management involved, but they should benefit from having the soft tyres and not the hards towards the end of the race. So you can see, I've just had confirmation, no driver change. Cam Richardson is carrying on in car number 51, which was about 2.5 to 3 seconds behind Onid Camsport before that pit stop. So we'll check back to that gap later on. That moves the Boo Barracuda number 666 car of Martin Buchan back into 3rd place. He's still lapping in the 33s. He's 8.5 seconds on Onid Camsport. For those of you wondering about how Jack Ashton's managing, well, it was a 46-second gap at the start of this stint that he had after choosing to triple stint the tyres. That gap has come down to 30. So he's only lost 16 seconds over the course of this stint, which has been running for, at least 35 minutes now. So far, it's looked like this decision has worked in his favour, and I would imagine, given what Ben Brown told us a little while ago, that may well lead Onid Camsport to do the same. They'll try and run their current set of tyres all the way through to the end of the race. So you're going to potentially end up with purple helmet, Onid Camsport and Napa, as I can see Cam Richardson returning to the track for his second stint. All sort of very different paces, but potentially all kind of coming together at the same time. So this race, with just over 100 minutes to go, is kind of bubbling up quite nicely. You've got 3 cars, all doing different things strategy-wise, and then really, might not be much between them. I think how quick Will Murphy is relative to Jack Ashton is going to have a major bearing on the outcome of this race. Those three cars will most likely make up the podium. With Boo Barracuda on 4, might be 4. We've got a yellow flag in sector 2. Someone dropped it. I'll see on the cameras that we've got here to kind of uncover if anyone. I did hear a bit of a shout, and it came up with yellow in sector 2 on the overlay there. There's a car on the apron. Is that Onid Camsport coming in? Or has Matt Good just gone off? Because that will have an impact. I'm trying to have a look at the sector times. I think they might have made a mistake here coming out of turn 6, Onid Camsport. We're trying to get the replay sorted. You're watching the live pictures on your screen now. But they have had a mistake. They've dropped behind Buchan. Onid Camsport, Matt Goodgesott has spun, and he's just gone on the power way too early because he's actually gone off to the right, coming out of turn 6. Big error after 2 hours and 20 minutes of this race. The second place car, Matt Goodgesott's number 900 Onid Camsport. There's the replay. Coming back onto the oval. It's cost them about 11 seconds. And the battle for the win takes another twist. Especially when you consider that they were looking at maybe potentially running those tyres for the rest of the race. But that's going to cause some damage if he's had a spin. So another thing for Matt and for Ben Brown to think about. Very much working in Jack Ashton's favour as well as he continues on. So yeah, we're into the last 100 minutes of the race. We've seen Napa Racing hit. They are going to try and stretch out those last 2 stints, but we will, I think, within the next 5 minutes, if that, we're going to start seeing other cars come into the pits as well. Purple helmet lead Boo Barracuda now in second by 36 seconds. That gap was 76 at the start, 74 at the start of this stint. So by having the fresher tyres, be able to consistently between 1 and 2 seconds lap quicker, only Camsport are in. Oh no, sorry, sorry, I've got a second screen here, and I keep mistaking the camera angle of turn 1 for the pit lane entry. So apologies for that, false alarm. They have resumed, and Goodgesott is 4.5 seconds behind Boo Barracuda. Lost about 11 or 12 seconds on that lap. I was just about to say about Martin Buchan then. 33.5 last time round. Ashton did a 34.4. Very, very impressive, but Buchan's consistently been able to take 1 to 2 seconds a lap out. And the gap, that I said, was 74 at the start of this stint, down to 36. We know that Martin Buchan does have an edge on his teammate Stuart French on pace a little bit. So I think it's a big question in terms of whether that kind of progress can be sustained over the next stint. Then again, with Will Murphy on the car, we don't know. There's still plenty of question marks with an hour and 38 minutes to go of how this race is going to progress. Quite a few of those questions I think will be solved in the upcoming pit stops and the first few laps after it. Your leader now completed somewhere in the region, I think probably just over 90 laps on 1 set of hard tyres, 3 stints, which leave 2 Will Murphy. And I wonder if you've seen how well the hards lasted, and with only 2 stints rather than 3, they might go for maybe mediums perhaps, or they'll stick with the hards just in terms of the car balance. I guess having not seen Will Murphy in action yet, that's probably the biggest variable, as well as Don Dean Smith for Napa, that we still need to introduce to this race. But I think the next probably 15 minutes or so are going to tell us a lot about how the rest of this race may well play out. But I still think, even with that error for Camsport, I think there's still 3 cars very much in contention for the win here. 33.4 last time round for Martin Buchan. 1.4 seconds quicker than Ashton in the purple helmet car. onto the banking goes once again. Is it finally going to be time for Jack Ashton to pit? Doesn't look like it. He's coming up to lap, I think it's the 35 Quatermass car for the second time, which has now got Michael Tyler back in it. It looked like there was a flash of green ahead. Yeah, yes it is, a 35 car in 8th place. Yeah. So at the moment, mainly because of pit stops out of sequence of the races stretched out, there are only 4 cars on the lead lap. Should mention Avanti Racing because they're still on the lead lap. We haven't talked about Max Wishling and Edson Manguera too much. This is a second stint now, I think, for Wishling. It's just the first stint that Edson Manguera did. They're in 4th place. They are still on the lead lap for now. They're only 35 seconds behind only Camsport in 4th place. They've very quietly got on with the job, and I think they've actually driven very, very well so far. There was one early spin. There is the Avanti car on your screen. Good to see a bit of it. We've not seen too much of it today. I know that Edson Manguera had a bit of a spin early on. Since then, they've covered well, and Max Wishling in particular has put in a really solid run. So I think they're very much in with a shout of. Potentially, even if they can hold solid, they might have a chance of challenging Barracuda. Barracuda, should say, for 4th place. Fourth, I don't know. Barracuda should finish in 4th place, I would say, given form and everything, depending on how Stuart French goes in his second stint. But I think Avanti 5th and 6th definitely within their grasp going into the final third of the race. I imagine it's going to be a little while until we're able to get to speak to Jack Ashton. I'm sure he's just going to have a bit of a breather and take a bathroom break and get some refreshment, having driven solidly now for almost two and a half hours. Last time by Ashton 35.0, Buchan 33.8, so that got down to 32 seconds now. Buchan also 8.5 seconds ahead of Good Scott in the only Cam Sport car in 3rd. How is Cam Richardson getting off on his pit stop? Last lap 34.4, so good solid lap time. Now he's back on those softer tyres once again, because the only real question mark for Napa, because they're going to have a tyre advantage over the other cars they're fighting the win for, is will there have to be an element of fuel management, maybe just a little bit on John Dean Smith's start toward the end. They have kind of pushed the fuel mileage to by its limit and basically used their margin to be able to short fuel Adam Christopher in that second stint around an hour ago. Hopefully they won't feel, from their point of view, they won't feel the penalty of that late in the race by trying to stretch the fuel mileage out in the last few laps. It's going to be interesting to find out, but they are, certainly from a fuel perspective, the Napa car is walking the tightrope a little bit more than the other cars in the race. Yellow flag, just very briefly flashed up with yellow flag in sector 1 there. Anyone? We're watching Martin Buchan. He's just coming into turn 1, so I don't know if we're going to catch any errant cars. Anyone spun round? I'll keep an eye on the sector time, because if any sector time come a lot higher than 39 or 40 seconds, that will tell us that there was an indiscretion by somebody, and we'll find out who it is. Barracuda's come through with a 44, so I think it was Nathan Burton, who's lost about 4 seconds and has now suddenly got Adam Locke in the 60V Quatermass car back all over again. He worked very hard to get past that car, built up a 4 or 5 second advantage, and now has lost it all again. So the battle for, at the moment, 5th on the road is very much back on. Go back, it looks, we're just looking at the footage, and it was at turn 3. And it's the usual thing, as we've seen a lot of corners, just getting on the power too early, and the rear comes back round on you. Just a half spin. He's used the the motorbike circuit loop to be able to rejoin. But it does mean that the Kratom is pulled away from the Kratom car a little bit again now. The gap's back up to 1.3 seconds. But that margin, he's worked really hard for the last 15 or 20 minutes to build up. Proving very handy because it meant he could just hold on to the place. There is that half spin from Nathan Burton. And there you can see Adam Locke being able to close in again, but not quite enough to be able to challenge and try and take that position back into turn 5. So, let's give you a quick update then, because we've got just coming up to 90 minutes to go, and I think we will be seeing some pit stops very, very soon. Team Purple Helmet, Jack Ashton still running the same tyres he started the race on, leads by 30 seconds from Boo Barracuda of Martin Buchan on the soft. Cam Sport, an error for Matt Goodger-Scott on this stint with a spin that cost him 10 seconds or so. He's 10 seconds further back in third. Avanti Racing in fourth, the last car on the lead lap. Boo Barracuda just ahead of Crazy Mouse Motorsport in fifth and sixth. Napa Racing UK are a lap down in seventh, but they have made one more pit stop than everybody else. They should only have to stop in this race one more time, and it's a 35 Crater Mass Motorsport car, and the only go for the gap car that are 8th and 9th with 90 minutes of the race to go, and the third round of pit stops imminent. I've just had a text. I think Jack Ashton's coming in. And here they come. Finally, after 2 hours and 30 minutes, Jack Ashton's day. Well, we assume it's done. We have said it's not been the first time we've said that this afternoon. I mean, prove wrong. I'm sure this will be a driver change for the boys in purple. Yep, I think that did look like Will Murphy getting into the car. Interesting question now. Will they choose to go to the hard? So, Martin Buchan in Boo Barracuda, at least for the time being, on the road, has retaken the lead. And is still putting in those mid-33s to kind of try and bring them back into the podium hunt. So, I wonder what we'll have to look. Only Cam Sport are in as well. I'm sure Matt Goodger-Scott is going to be very happy to... Well, will he get rid of those tyres? Will this be a tyre change? Sorry, it won't be a driver change. And, oh, they've gone a bit too far on they're all right there in that pit box. Barracuda with Nathan Burton also coming. Having just had that spin, he'll have to make it, get a bit of a break. And the 63 Quatermass car, I think, is also coming in. So very much getting into the pit stop cycle now. We're going to the second half of the third hour. So, will Camsport go for the tyre change, given the spin that Matt Goodger-Scott had? Will Purple Helmet stick with the hards for Will Murphy? Or will he feel that with 2 stints rather than 3, that you can take a slightly softer option? They're all in the pits now. Avanti Racing are also in, so only 4 cars circling on the track now. And that is Purple Helmets coming out right in front of Camsport, which with the 40-second gap is what you'd expect. So they have made the tyre change, Purple Helmet. Camsport sticking with the same tyres, and this is, in real terms, this is the fight for the lead. Will Murphy, Matt Goodger-Scott, nose to tail as they start the penultimate stint of the race, and there is nothing to separate them. They're second on the road because Martin Buchan is a minute and 11 seconds up the road, although he's just come in now, and he'll probably hand back over to Stuart French. This is your fight for the lead with 1 hour and 27 minutes to go. Now, how far are Napa behind? Goodger-Scott's all over the back of him here. He's going to try and go all around the outside. He can't do that. Turn 5 shortly, trying to take advantage of the cold tyres. It's a good opportunity. Can't quite do it. 98 leads 900. What a baptism of fire this is going to be for Will Murphy. His first lap of the race, and suddenly he's got to defend what effectively in a fight for the lead. Avanti Racing switching back to Edson Manguera. Only go for the Gabagan Carter still, and there it is, just in time. A car length ahead on the pit stop. Team Purple Helmet get back ahead of Camsport. Just about managed to hold on to the lead, and I mean just. And there's still very little between. We go back to the live pictures. Boo Barracuda still in the pit, so these two should regain the leadership of the race as they come back round to start this lap. Where is Boo Barracuda? Apparently, I think they've actually exited the pits now, so there's not going to be much between them. Good, just got looking around the outside. Going to dive to the inside. Can't quite do it there. Now, where are Boo Barracuda at this? Napa Racing take 14 seconds behind this battle. Boo Barracuda, are they out of the pit? Are they double stinting? I think they're double stinting because they're 45 seconds ahead. And well, according to the, we'll have to double check this. According to my data here, Martin Buchan's still in the car, and I guess the conversation we had him in early and seeing what Jack Ashton is doing, I think Boo Barracuda have switched strategy here. They've come back out ahead. I've got to wait for the splits to shake out because I don't think it's 45 seconds. He's just jumped to second 1. Wait for Team Purple Helmet to get now. The gap is 20. So Boo Barracuda, I believe, we'll just get confirmation that Martin Buchan is still in the car and now leading the race by just under 21 seconds after a change of strategy. Only Camsport third, half second behind, as you can see. Here is Boo Barracuda 666 in the lead. Napa Racing UK in fourth, 13 seconds upon the battle between Murphy and Goodger Scott. Has this just suddenly become a four-way fight for the win? Wow. Just when you think things are getting settled, something else comes up in this race to surprise you with an hour and 25 to go. Absolutely fascinating situation we're in here. We'll come on. Send Dane out to get some information about Boo Barracuda and switching their strategy. We're watching the battle then for second on the road. It must have been, to be out that quick and save that much time, it must have been a fuel-only stop and no tyres. For Buchan and Boo Barracuda, he's still in the car, we believe. We've got Jack. Have we found out about Martin's pit stop? Is he still in the car? Yes, yeah, so fuel only, but is Martin still in the car? Martin is still in the car then, so the strategy turns again. I'm very happy to say I've been joined by Jack Ashton, who's been running the same set of tyres since tyres were invented. So first question, was going for triple stint, was that a deliberate plan, or was it just based on your feels as the stints went on?
No clue, yeah, just based on the feel. Did the first stint, I was like, yeah, 100% double. We'll just do a double. And then I was like,
you must serve this within 3 laps.
On the cards. And the whole kind of reasoning for it is just to give Will Muffin a bit of a easier time, because he's going to have either, if I was going to change the tyres on the double, I'd have done a single stint, or I'd either had to give him tyres, old tyres, which I did not want to do, or if I went for the triple, I could stay in the car and then give him just a double stint to finish, and that's kind of the big main reasoning I did it. So let's just see how Muffin gets on, really, just fingers crossed, see how he does.
Has he gone back out, is he on the hards as well, or are you running a softer compound with the shortest double stint?
We went for the hards just because that's what he's sort of known. I mean, we've only done about an hour practice anyway, so we haven't even done long runs, so it's all new to us anyway. Yeah, just trying it out and leaving him play on the black stuff. All we need. Yeah, podium would be happy. I mean, obviously at the moment we're in a good position, so all you need to do is just keep it smooth rather than push, because there's nothing worse when you're on the back foot and you have to try and push the catch. That's when mistakes start to happen. And as well with Muffin, he can be quite aggressive, so if he starts getting that aggression levels quite high, mistakes happen when he doesn't need to be aggressive right now, so hopefully he can keep it cool and keep on the black stuff and a win or a podium, hopefully.
That's great. Just a quick boom from Race Control. I think Avanti have got a penalty. We'll come back and check that back out just in a moment. Was it pit exit violation rather than a speed thing? Is that drive through?
That is a warning for crossing the
just
white
pit
lane exit line. This is your one and only warning. The next time it will be a drive-through. Do not cross the white pit exit line. You may cross the dash lines, but not the white solid line.
Myself, so I'd take this over doing the whole thing. But
you've effectively knocked off early then.
In a sense, yeah. But for sure, like it is tough. The car is very demanding. You've got to be thinking about it a lot. The first stint was really bad for me, which is obviously the one stint I should have done well with the tyres, but the last stint was probably my best stint out of all of them, which is quite weird. But it was mainly for the fact that initially we thought, or heard that leaving traction control on the straights was slowing you down, so he turned it off and thought, I ain't bothering trying to change the traction control for corners at each lap. I'm just going to leave it off. So we learnt to drive with it off, and for sure, like the first 10 laps, no problem. But as soon as you get past that phase and the rear tyres are getting a little bit worn, it's so hard to get the power down off the slow corners. You're struggling to use the throttle properly. So I was trying to then change the traction control to on in the corner section and then off in the straight. I absolutely detest doing stuff like that. I just want to stay with the car, do what I need to do with the pedals and the steering wheel, do not touch anything else. And it was really throwing with my head, messing my head big time. So I was like, you know what, the next stint I'm just going to leave traction control on the whole time. Sure enough, didn't really waste much time.
I just got to interrupt. We've had a spin, and I think it is, unfortunately, curse of death, Will Murphy's actually just spun. Coming out of turn 6, we've seen a lot of spins there. He's just come back onto the banking and angle, almost hit the outer wall, and it has allowed only Camsport to come back through and take that second place. Just one more question, I want to get back to it. I saw your pace was really good, consistent, sort of high 34s, low 35s all the way through. For that period of time, how hard is it to drive within yourself and not resist the temptation to try and drive flat out?
Yeah, definitely difficult. I drive to the means of the car, so you start to learn that the car can't quite do what it can do on great tyres, so you just start to drive how it should and to the limit at the moment. And with the hards, they're fairly consistent throughout the stint, so it wasn't too much of a problem trying to constantly adjust every lap or bring it back every lap. It was just a case of trying to do what I'm doing and bring it back very, very slowly over a period of time. But yeah, overall, not too bad.
Brilliant, Jack. Thank you very much for joining us. All the best for the rest of the race, and we're very well done again for making those tyres last as long as you did. So thank you very, very much for joining us. So unfortunately, while Jack was with us, his teammate did spin out of turn 6. We're just going to have a look at the replay now, I believe. And just out of turn 6, and once again, it was interesting getting the insight there from Jack about the sort of changing the track around the circuit, and with the worn tyres, everything, drivers struggling with it and deciding just to leave as it is. That does come back to, we saw Adam going through the bus stop with the traction control on the onboard, Adam Christopher, much earlier in the race, which obviously just sort of demonstrating how hard these cars are to drive, particularly on worn tyres. So Team Purple Helmet have lost about 10 seconds as a result of that. They're now nearly 6 behind only Camsport. Martin Buchan has a lead of 26 seconds now. I imagine they'll be handing back to Stuart French for the final stint, which does pose another question mark. But yeah, it is still all action here, very much coming into play. Also, Team Purple Helmet, with that mistake from Will Murphy, is falling back into the clutches of Napa Racing UK. Cam Richardson's only just over 4 seconds behind him. I've got all sorts of news. We've got Jack in the studio at exactly the wrong time. Vancy Racing have been given a penalty. I believe did we check it was a drive-through day? It was a pit exit violation, wasn't it? There was a big warning in the driver briefing. You look at the pit exit as they come towards the inside of turn 1. There's a sort of extra triangle of tarmac, and they were expressly told not to cross it. So I think it'll be a violation there. So unfortunately, that's dropped Vancy down to 8th. Go for the Gap Racing have had another pit stop. Aidan Carter, I think, is still in the car. I don't think they've had the driver change. They still bring up the rear in 9th place. They are 2 laps down. So as far as the lead battles are concerned, with an hour and 17 to go, Martin Buchan for Boo Barracuda leading by 27 seconds, 6 seconds ahead of Team Purple Helmet, with 4 seconds ahead of Napa Racing UK, and the 35 car of Cratermass Motorsport with Michael Tyler in it, of course they're pitting a bit out of sequence as well, have managed to bring themselves back up into P5. And they are 5 seconds ahead of Barracuda with Nathan Burton driving in 6th, and that's the last car on the lead lap. Purple Helmets have been given a warning for crossing the pit exit line. No penalty has been given for it. I guess it was probably a very marginal, maybe just catching the line there. You also got to remember that he came out of the pitch right next to the owner Camsport car when they came out of that last stop, so it might have something to do with that as well. So take a minute just to take a bit of a breather, catch your breath, because there's been a hell of a lot going on there in the last few minutes. But with the strategy change from Boo Barracuda, Martin Buchan decided to double stint the softs. That has brought them right back into contention. He is the fastest man on the track. He's still pumping in low 34s, which is a little bit of a drop-off, but it might put his teammate Stuart French, we assume they'll change drivers again, and Stuart French has only done 1 tank of fuel so far, in a good position trying to defend that lead late in the race and try and manage that gap. So we're going to take a very quick break just for a couple of minutes. We've got an hour and a quarter to go with this race. There's still everything to play for, with 9 cars in it and 4 of them still in realistic contention for the win. Back again, I'm Dan McCalla with you for this opening round of the Simply Race Endurance Series, the 4 hours of Daytona. We have 1 hour and 11 minutes to go of a race that there are still 4 cars that could win it. You're looking at 2 of them on the soft tyres. The Napa Racing UK car of Cameron Richardson has hunted down Team Purple Helmets. Will Murphy, who's on hard tyres but has only been on them for about 20 minutes after that big stint by Jack Ashley. He's had a spin, Will Murphy, which has dropped him out of contention a little bit. This is the 3rd place on the road. They're 38 seconds behind the leader, which is Martin Buchan for Boo Barracuda, who's currently trying to double stint a pair of soft tyres. Only Cam Sport with Matt Good to soft on the hard tyres. They might try to triple stint those to the end. We'll have to wait and see what they do in their last stop. They're in 2nd place. They are 8 seconds ahead of this battle. That car coming up behind them on the road, I think it might be the Avanti car of Edson Manguera is back into that one after they made their last pit stop. That's not the position, because the next car of the position after these two in 5th place is Quatermass, and he's 47 seconds behind. So, I think that is the Avanti car. So that's not the one in the background. You don't need to worry about that in the fight for position. Oh, big moment for Richardson. It is the Avanti car. Big moment for Richardson there. The Avanti car is not for track position, but may well get past him, but he's really dropped back. He was pushing very hard coming out of the bus stop, and he's dropped right back. And if a lapped car gets in the way, that's going to make it even harder for him to overtake as we go into the final 70 minutes of this fascinating Sres season opener. I mean, there's nothing stopping Edson Manguera from trying to get past and unlap himself if he wants to. There's nothing saying he has to stay behind. This is endurance racing. Lap traffic is, is a fact of life. It is very much part and parcel of this nature of motorsport. Just looking at the front of the field, Martin Buchan did a 35.3 last time round, which is very much slowing up. He's been running those soft tyres now for, about maybe an hour and 10 minutes? I don't know whether it was a mistake or whether it's a bit of drop in performance. He has built a lead now of 29 seconds, but we expect it'll be Stuart French getting back in the car for the last stint. We're expecting it's going to be about sort of between 50 and 40 minutes to go, so between 20 and 30 minutes from now, that we're going to see the last pit stop shake out. Napa Racing UK will be the first one to pit because they're out of sequence, and then we'll see everyone else follow a few laps after. But tyre choice and driver choice for that last stint is going to be absolutely critical. And so even though we've got 4 cars here with almost 40 seconds between them, I think any of this top 4 could still win this race. Napa probably being the joker in the pack, having pitted out of sequence, and also because their third driver, John Dean Smith, hasn't raced yet. He's been here patiently. I had a quick bit of a chat of him during that last break. He is quietly confident, but it is going to come down to him to put in a short and very sweet stint over the last 45 to 50 minutes of this race. Martin Buchan's lap time last time had a 34.4, so I think it was just maybe a little bit of an error on that previous lap, but he is still lapping. He's not the quickest man on the track, because a 35 car, Michael Tyler, did a 33.6 last time round. He's in 5th, so they can't have stopped again. It's a great effort by Michael Tyler. Now we know it's him in the car after the confusion during the first stint. That's a great effort by Michael. The 35 car of him and Aaron Daly. A couple of small errors, but they have driven very well. I think they might still be a 6th place on for them there. They're certainly the better of the 2 Quatermass cars today. Benefited from Avanti Racing's penalty as well. So 6th place, maybe even challenging Barracuda for 5th. They're about 11 seconds ahead of them at the moment. There's still lots to fight for. We come towards the end of the 3rd hour. And Richardson closing the gap. Murphin once again. It's been great in the commentary box to hear from so many drivers today after their stints. We've heard from Aaron Daly, we've heard from Jack Ashton, we've heard from Max Spooner, who's here in a non-driving capacity. We've heard from Martin Buchan as well. I'll very much try and get Martin Buchan to come and join us in the studio again if he doesn't drive the last stint. After his head in hands moment earlier, I'm sure we'll have everything to say because of how much he switched the strategy, trying to double stint these softs, and it does seem to be working for them so far. Buchan doing a great job, we presume, building a gap for Stuart French. When they make their last pit stop in probably about 20 minutes' time. Gap up to over 30 seconds, almost 31 seconds now. With the Napa car of Cameron Richardson. Coming back to within striking distance of Will Murphin in the Team Purple helmet car once again. Then you had a second between them after that error that just caused them to drop back a little. They come back onto the oval and back down towards the bus stop. Apart from this battle, we're in a little bit of a lull at the moment. It does have to be said, the number of errors we've seen from drivers, I think, in this sort of, certainly the last hour, has been markedly reduced. We saw lots of mistakes in the very first stint before the first round of pit stops. And I think the drivers got used to the car, they're used to the conditions, they kind of settled in what their solid race pace rhythm is, which might be more 34s and 35s more than 33s. The quality of driving has been great. We've not seen any, don't think we've had any contact, we've not seen any bad driving standards, which has been great. Adam Chris had a brave move or two when he was here earlier on. Adam unfortunately had to leave us early. He should be home by now. I did make a promise to him that I would give him a traffic update. I mean, Adam should be well onto the M25 by now, so. Martin Buckerman to do low 34. Oh, was that? And I think Will Murphy's gone off coming out of turn 6 again. He has. And that's moved Cameron Richardson back up into third. Exactly the same place where he lost it earlier on. Some of the hard work that Jack Ashton put in that monster 2.5-hour stint being undone a little bit here. We'll get a replay for you very, very shortly. But it means that Cameron Richardson in the Napa Racing UK car is back up into third. Team Purple helmet number 98 down into fourth. And I think, is that a replay? Has he lost it again? It's in the wall. Has he? He's rejoined there. I'm trying to work out if this is one incident or two. The Avanti car that was lapped has come back past him. We're on board. We're looking at the replay here. He's coming down to the... I think he's lost it again on the exit of the bus stop. Here we go. So we're watching the replay still, coming into the bus stop. And I think as he just pushed it too hard, lost of composure. Yeah, he's lost at the bus stop and got head on into the wall. It's a big hit. 2 offs for Will Murphy in the same lap. And it's dropped him well back down the order. A real shame. And I think it's probably put paid to his and Jack Ashton's chances of winning this race with just over an hour to go. Very, very good news for Napa Racing back onto the podium. Even better news for Adam Christopher, who's already left us, is that the M25 and the M3 look clear. I think the A3 is clear as well. So good news for you making your appointment, mate. So, 33 seconds now the lead for Martin Bucket, over an hour in the stint, and he's still putting in the low mid-34s, and it really has brought Boo Barracuda back into that. The 35 car of Quatermass have pitted once again. Aaron Daly is back in the car, but with an hour and 2 minutes to go, the likelihood is that unless they're going to do some serious fuel management, they are going to have to pit again before the end of the race. I think just over an hour is going to be too much for them to stretch out on one tank of fuel. And I think this is, remember, their very first stop, they made a bit of an error, as Aaron told us, with setting the fuel second. They didn't take on a fuel tank of fuel. They had to put in an extra stop, and I think fitting out sequence, they're starting to maybe feel the penalty of that as the race continues to unravel. Will Murphy carrying on. He's 13 seconds behind the Napa Racing car now after that. 2 offs, 3 in total, unfortunately, now for him. His lap time's dropped off. He was in the 37s last time round. Richardson isn't really catching Cam Sport at the moment. So I think a lot of this going to the last hour is going to come down to how much more performance and how many more quick lap times that Buchan can pump in. He's just on a 34.1, so he's still consistently in the low 34s. We assume Stuart French will take over. How quick's he going to be? How much can he push tyres that have only got to last one stint? And will he have enough of a gap to hold off those 2 cars? So, we've got 1 hour left. I can't believe it's been 3 hours already. It has been an absolutely fascinating Sres season opener here on the 4 hours of Daytona. Let's give you a quick rundown of what we've seen so far and what to look forward to as we head into the final 60 minutes. Your race leader is car number 666. There he is, very much the Flying Scotsman at the moment, Martin Buchan. Led in the early stages of the race on the soft tyres, realised losing out on strategy, has decided to double stint softs to get them back into the race. He has a lead of just under 35 seconds, and that lead is growing as they try and build a margin for them to hold on to for the final stint. Your second place car is number 900, Onid Cam Sport. Matt Goodger-Scott has had an off, and it's a big question now, will he try and triple stint those hards for the final stint as well and try and save him some time in the pit stop? At the moment, if he does, they'll be pretty much neck and neck with Boo Barracuda after the final round of stops, assuming that Boo Barracuda change their tyres again. Third is Napa Racing UK, Cam Richardson. Just one or two minor incidents. They're running slightly out of sequence. They will be changed to soft and having a driver change to John D. Smith for the final stint. They're around 9 seconds behind Cam Sports at the moment, still very much in contention for the win. In fourth place, number 98, Team Purple Helmet, Jack Ashton, managed to run one single set of hards, triple stint, 2.5 hours. Will Murphy's got in, he started well, but unfortunately has had 3 incidents, including 2 on the same lap a couple of laps ago. It's dropped in nearly a minute off the lead, and it's seriously harmed their hopes of winning, getting on the podium. Fifth place and a lap down, 95, Barracuda, Nathan Burton still in the car. Having a great battle with the number 35 Quatermass car, which has dropped to the back of the field because they're pitting out of sequence. But should get a good result in the midfield. Sixth place, we haven't seen much of them. And we see plenty of them there from Adam Locke as he comes into turn 5. Big slide with his teammates coming past. That's not the position. There's a lap between them. But there's some action there from Adam Locke, who's sharing with Ben Bennyworth. They've not had too many problems and done a quiet job. Nice to see him on camera, actually. We've not seen too much of them today. They're in 6th place. 7th place, number 7, Avanti Racing, just behind Cam Richardson on the track there. Had a pit exit penalty, which has dropped them out of that fight in the midfield. The number 2 car, Onid, go for the gap in 8th place. There they are, number 2. They're 2 laps down. With Aidan Carter currently in the car that he's sharing with Dan Hyde. And the 35 Quatermass car in 9th place, 2 laps down. Aaron Daly and Michael Tarr doing a great job, but a bit of an error with the fuelling earlier set them back. They have been running very, very good pace. Both drivers have been up there in that 5th, 6th place fight, but they're going to struggle to finish any much higher than where they are now, because it's highly likely they will either have to save a lot of fuel or stop again between now and when this race finishes in 58 minutes' time. So we've still got, I'd say, probably we're expecting the Napa car to come in with about 50 minutes to go. So 8 minutes from now, and that will kick off what will be the final round of pit stops. So John Dean Smith is going to get into that car, which he hasn't driven yet in this race. And he's going to have to go, well, he's basically put a load of quality out, so run the soft tyres throughout. He should have a tyre advantage. Only Cam Sport, well, do they stick a twist? Because obviously they're going to, Matt Goodger-Scott, get my words out properly, potentially could try and triple stint these hard tyres. If he does, that's going to gain them around 40 seconds in the pit stop. It should bring them out right with Boo Barracuda, but they won't have the tyre performance later in the race. Is that going to work against them, depending on what Boo Barracuda do? The double stinting of the softs that Martin Buchan has done for Boo Barracuda has brought them straight back into the race. We assume that he's going to change again, and we assume that they're going to switch drivers, and it will be Stuart French who drives the final stint. So the race is set up very nicely. Boo Barracuda leading Onid Cam Sport by just under 37 seconds, and Napa Racing by 44.5, and that's about the difference between making a tyre change and not making a tyre change in the last round of pit stops. So it potentially could be a fight to the flag here. I wouldn't like to say which one of those 3 cars is going to be in the best position, because you could make pros and cons and arguments for all 3 of them in terms of who's going to be in this race. I think Will Murphy's probably got too much to do, really, in 4th place now after those incidents a few laps ago, which is a real shame after what a great effort Jack Ashton did triple stinting those hards. But we are in a fascinating situation now, well into the final hour of the race. And it should be about another, maybe no more than 3 or 4 laps for Cam Williamson, who has made a couple of minor errors, but has done a very, very good job indeed of bringing Napa Racing back into this race, or he hands over to John Dean Smith to hand the anchor leg. It is, barring something very surprising, it will be the number 51, the blue and yellow Napa car, that will be the first to stop. We are on board with the Napa cars. It comes across the line again, so 56 minute and a half, I reckon. Yeah, it's going to be 3 or 4 more laps until the Napa car comes in. Last lap time for Richardson was a 34.9. There's a 34.6 for Good Scott on the CanSport car. The gap between them is 8 seconds. Buchan doing a 34.0. He's done a great job. I mean, he started in the low 33s with the soft tyres. He's now run them for, I think I'm just trying to work out how long it's been changing those tyres, but getting on for an hour and a half. Strategy change working out very well, combined with another supreme effort of driving from the Scotsman. 5 minutes of the race remaining. So who's going to take tyres in this last stop? CanSport, probably not. Purple Helmet, probably won't, which potentially could put them back ahead of Napa Racing UK in terms of track position. But Don Dean Smith, fresh stops, single stinted, can go for it and pretty much drive full gas all the way to the end. I think that will be the theory anyway. Boo Barracuda, one triple stint for soft? Who knows? I mean, you've got the variable of tyres, you've got the variable of the driver as well. Means I've only seen Stuart French do one short stint so far. Out of the 4 tanks of fuel that they will have gone through, so far Buchan's done 3. So, a little bit of a holding pattern now for the next few minutes, and then things will start to become apparent as those lead 4 cars make their last pit stops. We'll see where we are going into the final stint. Just a word on the 35 Quatermass car, Aaron Daly back in the car. The fact that he's just done a 33.7 and is actually the fastest driver on track at the moment suggests to me that they will need to stop again. They're not going to try and fuel save and try and get to the finish. They are in last place at the moment, but they are only 5 seconds behind the only Go for the Gap car in 8th and closing rapidly. So I imagine through the coming pit stop cycle, if not before then, the 35 car will be back into 8th place on the road at least for the time being. I'm sure I wasn't the only person who was sat here when this race started and thinking, 4 hours, 9 cars. We might be struggling for stuff to talk about and stuff to get excited about, but the divergence in strategy has been great, and this has been a genuinely, I can speak from my personal perspective, interesting, engaging race to watch. And that's exactly what you want to be, the position you want to be in at this stage, that we're well into the final hour, and all 3 podium positions are still very much up for grabs. I think everybody really has got something to fight for. All the way through the field, from 1st to 9th, there are positions up for grabs. Starts another lap. For the first time in a while, Martin Buchan's back into the 33s. 33.8. Now, the key metric here, with a few laps to go to the pit stops, is if he can get that lead over CanSport to up over 40 seconds. At the moment, it's 38.8. Given his speed advantage, he's about a second a lap quicker, I suspect there's a good chance that he will. It reminds me very much of the situation we used to get in British GT a few years ago with the Christians and Motorsport team. The Reverend Hector Lester was driving with the late, great Alan Simonson, and Simonson would offer drive an absolutely superb stint for the first 35, 36 minutes for the 60-minute race, build up a really big lead, and then go, right, there you go, Hector, you've got 24 minutes, you've got a 20-second lead to defend, go and do it. And while Hector Lester is not at Alan Simonson's level, because very few people were, Hector Lester was a good enough driver, and a lot of the time they got the results, and it did get them a number of race wins over the years in 1-hour British GT races. Gap is almost now at 40 seconds, 39.984 I have on my timing screen. And it is now 40 as they come across the line. 34.0 Buchan, 35.3 for Good Scott. And the gap is 40 seconds. So that means, theoretically, if CanSport stick with the hard tyres, Boo Barracuda can change tyres in the pit stop, theoretically, and still get out in the lead. Now, we're coming up to the 50-minute mark, so I think we look at the Napa car now. It's coming through turn 3, I think there's a good chance that Cam Richardson will pit at the end of this lap. If not this one, then I imagine it will certainly be at the end of the next one. So we will stick with the blue and yellow car for now, because I think that will kick off this final round of starts. 50 minutes and 30 seconds to go. I very much hope we'll be able to speak to Cam Richardson when he gets out the car, and we'll see how he's got on. If Martin Buchan is not driving the last stint, then hopefully we'll speak to him as well. 50 minutes to go through the bus stop. The Cam is 48 off the lead, 7.5 behind Cam Sport. It will be a long stop. They will need to change tyres, but through the last stint of the race, John Dean Smith should, on paper, be the fastest driver on track, but he's going to need to pump in 33 after 33 to get through the field in the final stages, and Cam Richardson is coming in, as we expected, with 50 minutes to go. Here he comes. The last round of pit stops underway. In he comes. It will be a long stop for a tyre change, so they will drop on the road back down to probably 5th or 6th place. Hopefully we'll speak to Cam Richardson very soon. The next couple of laps we'll see the other stops coming in as well. But with 40 seconds, Boo Barracuda have just enough to change tyres, put on a new set of, we presume, soft, because it's what they've run away so far, and then either Martin Buchan or Stuart French, I suspect it will probably be the latter, will come out in the lead. Yep. So Cameron Richardson out of the car. John Dean Smith, finally. Yeah. Welcome to Sres, John Dean Smith. I know he's been testing extensively. We're really looking forward to it. A great job of getting this Napa deal together. And now finally, 3 hours and 12 minutes into the race, well, hopefully, because they're still in the pits at the moment, he will get to take part in it, and we'll be watching his lap times with great interest. They've dropped to 6th, a lap down, which is what you'd expect, because it's going to be a long stop with a change of tyres. And we'll have to see how it gets on. I'm very pleased that Cameron Richardson has come straight in to join us, Cam. 2 stints, how did you find it?
Sweaty, I'm sweating. But yeah, it was good. You don't realise how much of a game of chess it is on 4 wheels. It's half the stint spent fuel saving, probably more on the second stint. And watching tyre life, and my fronts were dead because we double stint the fronts but changed the rears. Yeah, hard work, but we managed to stick to the strategy and get it absolutely bang on time.
That's great. Now, I know obviously you don't have as much sort of experience racing here as John or Adam, which is why you got the majority of the time in free practice this morning. How much do you feel you've learned sort of from when you got here this morning compared to now?
Yeah, massive amount. The main thing is how stiff the brake pedals are here. Just because I'm used to more of a longer travel on the brake, but learned loads and just ended up finding a nice rhythm with the practice time that massively helped this morning. Ended up sort of reflecting in my stint where I could just sit in a groove of like 34.7s, I think we were, with fuel saving, massive amounts, and we were taking a few chunks out of the cars in front and keeping safe. So yeah, all good.
Have you had to do a lot of fuel saving to make this strategy work?
Yes, in that last stint, I did have to do quite a bit. In the first sort of quarter of the stint, just over, probably, it was a good amount of pushing, but yeah, a lot of fuel saving towards the end of the stint to make it work. But we got it bang on time. So.
Okay. Bear in mind, I've just had the message through that I believe when he's coming, I believe that Martin Buchan's going to stay in the car for the last stint. Taking that in mind, and given obviously John's just got in the car, 1 stint, soft tyres, going to go flat out, do you think you can win this race?
Yeah, I'm not sure what strategy there on what tyres and what fuel load, but John's sort of got a quali stint ahead of him, so he knows what he's doing. He can keep it on the island, not touch wood. Now that I've said it, Commentator's curse.
Oh, I've already cursed plenty of drivers sat here in the last 3 1/4 hours, so don't worry. This is
Cool. Yeah, David, he knows what he's doing. He's a cracking driver. He's done this before. He'll do his thing and keep on track. And I think whatever it'll be an exciting finish.
That's great, Cam. Thank you very, very much for joining us, and I hope we're looking forward to seeing you for the next race at Estoril. Go and enjoy the last 3/4 of an hour. And yeah, I just had a message come through while we were speaking to Cam Richardson there that we believe that Martin Buchan is going to drive the last stint as well. However, we've now been told that now we've been told he's not. So we can confirm one of the Boo Barracuda drivers will be driving for Boo Barracuda. This has got Jenson Button, Williams, and BAR written all over it. Right. So scrap what I just said. Let's see what happens when he makes the pit stop, and whether there's going to be a time to. It would make more sense for Stewart to drive because he's only done one of the 4 tanks of fuel so far. So, where is John Dean Smith and what kind of lap times is he doing? He's on his first flying lap now, and his pace is just slightly slower than John Buchan, but that's the one we need to watch. We have now confirmation Martin Buchan is going to stay in the car. So, and they are pitting at the end of this lap. So, we'll keep an eye on the timings and everything and how quick or slow it's going to be. And that, I reckon, is probably the number 35 Quatermass car being driven by Aaron Daly, I reckon, most likely. Knowing what Aaron is like, if you heard that noise in the background, Aaron is not back when he's coming forward to show his emotions. But the question now is, and here comes Boo Barracuda in for their final pit stop with 44 minutes to go, 43 seconds ahead of only Cam Sport. So if they choose to change tyres, then after the stops are shaken out, then they should be about where Cam Sport are, assuming they're triple stinting. I have confirmed that was Aaron Daly that had gone off. Life imitating art. So Buchan in, he did a 1:34.1 on his last flying lap, having double stinted soft. So he's driven those tyres for well over an hour and a half. And that should now kick off a lot of turbulence on the leaderboard over the next, 5 minutes or so. So we sit and wait in the burning question. Is Buchan going to... We know he's staying in the car. Has only Cam Sport come across the line. So they now take the lead on the road. If he starts moving in the next few seconds, that means he thinks he can triple stint the soft. Now, if he's done a 34.1, who knows? He might think he can do it. But if he stays for a long time and he's going to take fresh tyres on... And that's Cam Sport. Leader on the road. Only Cam Sport's gone off at the exit of turn 1. Matt Goodger-Smith, and I think there's a problem with the car.
Code 37.
Oh wow!
Code 37
Another
in
twist
5,
in this
4,
lead battle with just
3,
under 45 minutes to
1.
go.
Pit limiters
Just
on.
at
Pit
the
limiters
point
on.
to go over the lead, and we have a code 80. Code 37, well, 37, 80, whatever you want to call it. But we do have effectively a virtual safety car situation. And I'm wondering if it might actually be it's a technical problem here rather than a problem. I think it's come to a stop rather than actually going. Let's have a look. So the car's come around. No, he spun. He spun to hit the barrier. Hit basically the pit wall by the pit exit as he comes around turn 1, again on the power too early. So all the cars I go around at pit lane speed limit speeds. And this, because they're already in the pit lane, and Cam Sport's on the move again, with the cars slowed down, this, especially if Buchan's staying in, they're still in the pits now, so they have changed tyres, has probably handed the race to Boo Barracuda. I think. They've taken on fresh tyres. A lot of other cars, including Napa, coming out of the pits, have had to slow down because of the effectively virtual safety car. USB came out. That's why Cam Sport stopped and gone round, and they've managed to fix and looks like it on the move again. Code 80 will eventually stop. Boo Barracuda are out on track. But that has massively worked in Martin Buchan and Stuart French's favour. The situation is, I believe, looking at the splits, well, I can't really give you any updated splits until only Cam Sport get to the Sector 1 line, which is going to take a while because they're all trundling around at 60 kph. Yeah, I suppose it will help Napa slightly in terms of their fuel saving thing, but I think Boo Barracuda are going to get a huge advantage out of that, and then we'll see what the gap are. So they've just come across the first sector line now. That looked like Boo Barracuda in the background, which means I think they're only in more than 10-15 seconds. Yeah, it is. That's Purple Helmet and Boo Barracuda in second and third. I think we're hearing, this is a difficult situation, I think Owen Campbell will get given some time back because it was a technical issue. So the race is going to be in a bit of a sort of kind of state of purgatory for the next few minutes because we're not really going to know for a little while who's going to be where. So bear with us for the next few minutes. I think we're going to get a visit from... So bear with the next few minutes, we'll figure out what's going on. The clock is still running, we've got just under 40 minutes to go now. It was just Boo Barracuda pitted, only Cansport went through on the road to take the lead, and then just had a bit of a spin coming out of turn one. We think it was a technical issue, maybe more than driver error. We're on board with Boo Barracuda right behind Team Purple Helmet, but Boo Barracuda will not have to stop again. Team Purple Helmet will. I imagine they were probably just about to come in. It's been the case all afternoon. Just when you think this race is starting to settle down, you get another curveball, and that's what makes endurance racing great. We are just getting more information through that the crash was caused by the USB becoming disconnected. So it was a technical issue rather than driver error from Matt Good to Scott, which has caused the crash. So I imagine in this situation, race control, Grant Lyman and the team will be going back through, checking the timings to try and restore Camsport to where they were before that happened so that they don't lose out on something that was no fault of their own. That will take a few minutes, and the Code 80, the virtual safety car that you're seeing here, will remain in place until that is resolved. So it could be a little while. The cars will continue to go around. They are mandated to go with the pit limiter on, 37 miles an hour in first gear. And the pit lane is closed. Boo Barracuda were already serving their pit stop when this happened, so they was able to complete their pit stop. The only reason, and it could happen here, given the timing when this has happened, that someone would be allowed to pit will be basically if they're about to run out of fuel. Nobody has yet. Obviously, it's a lot more fuel efficient to run at this this lower speed for the time being, but there will be some cars that are very low on fuel because so far only Boo Barracuda and Napa UK have made their pit stops in this final round. This may actually work well for the 35 car, because they may be looking to do another pit stop. If this goes on for a while, they may not have to stop again. I still think we're going to have a race to be decided here, so if you were going to take a quick comfort break or go and have a quick fag or grab yourself another cup of tea or a drink from your fridge, this is the time to do it. Just under 37 minutes of the race remaining. Even through all of this, the clock still ticks down. Even though the drivers are doing 4, 5, 6 minute laps, rather than just over 1.5. Technology really a wonderful thing sometimes, but nothing's ever 100% reliable. Things can and do happen. Nothing's always going to work as it should 100% of the time. You know, just ask Max Verstappen after what happened yesterday. So, you never know, but the good thing about the setup that we have here at Simply Racing Milton Keynes is that the team will always work hard to make sure that any technical problems are compensated for and that people get as fair a run as possible. And what you're going to see now is Cam Sport have been allowed to take the limiter off and make up some time so that they were roughly where they were. This is a tricky one to work out because of the fact that Boo Barracuda are in the pits, but that's why now Cam Sport and only Cam Sport is being allowed to take the limiter off and go quicker, and the Simply Race team will look at the sector times, they'll look at the deltas, and they'll work out exactly